Part 222. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2216. I entered a place like Biostar alone, and being able to adapt to this level in more than a month is enough to make me proud, so I don't need to think so much. Troubles can happen anytime and anywhere, but to keep struggling with them is just to bother myself. Why don't you want to overcome the difficulties, then relax and work hard to deal with them? When Jia Yan arrived at Bioshu, he often felt insecure. What he lacked was a correct mentality. Now after thinking about it, his mentality has been corrected and he suddenly became enlightened. A peaceful area is definitely not a place for me to stay. It's better to leave early, because peace is not what I want. Staying here is my limitation, because I didn't come to Biostar to pursue a peaceful environment. That way it's better to be a strong man with mixed forces in the outside world. After Jia Yan figured out this concept, he was already thinking about whether he would stay or go. But before he could return to his temporary residence and start making subsequent plans, he found a message about a public procedure in his Gnow communication number. Huh? News. And it's from a public program, didn't I just pretend? How did they know this program was me? Jia Yan was slightly startled, and then realized that he had logged into his account. When he opened the notification of the program, his expression quickly changed again and again. Not long after, a giant mosquito figure was greeted by a female creature at the reception desk of the temporary residence, and soon left the place. Jia Yan got on a chartered Feishan bus. This bus was not a bus, but one he rented alone. The price was not that cheap. When he arrived in this area, he no longer had that much money, but he was not stingy and ordered the fastest price. Less than 15 minutes later, Jia Yan, who had been shuttled through the aerial routes of this big city for a while, got out of the car again and flew to the road in the area designated by the passengers to be able to fly. At this moment, on the road, there are already two creatures who seem to be of high strength, waiting here. Your Excellency Jia Yan, welcome to your arrival. Oh? How do you know that I am willing to come? Aren't you afraid that I will let you down? In front of the two of them, Jia Yan spoke quietly to the two creatures. Judging from the giant mosquito's expression, there was no expression of joy, anger, sorrow, or joy at all. This is natural. Who can understand the expression of a mosquito? Haha, Your Excellency Jia Yan, we have analyzed your behavior and past and know that you will not refuse. One of the two big creatures on the other side is similar in size to Jia Yan, and when standing up, he looks like a lion, and his sense of oppression is stronger than Jia Yan's. Have you ever analyzed me? Jia Yan shook his head, knowing that no matter how hard he told them not to do this, the other party would do the same, so it was better not to say anything. Just analyze, a strong person is destined to have countless people thinking about it. The reason why Jia Yan has never been affected by this in the starry sky is because he is strong enough and his strength increases quickly enough. I feel uncomfortable on Biostar right now because he is not strong enough. Otherwise, if you are the territory lord and a brainwave power passes by, none of these beings will dare to speak, and they will even be directly crushed by your own brainwave power. Presumably, the other party's public program group will not be able to do it because of one or two people. A few employees died, and there was a dispute with the domain master. Okay, the news you told me is that you want to cooperate with me, and you didn't come here because you wanted me to work for you. I hope you didn't lie to me, otherwise you will know and offend a strong man. Fate. Jia Yan's eyes flashed with fierceness. Although he can no longer show off his power in the North Star, as he said, he is still a strong man. If he wants to go against a large group, he may still make the other party extremely uncomfortable. After all, this group is said to be powerful and has a great business, but they are afraid that others will destroy it. They cannot use force, otherwise it will make more local forces, even those who control it, Disgusted. We will never have any excessive thoughts about you. It's really just cooperation. The lion creature's face looked a little ugly, but it still reassured Jia Yan with little joy. Okay then, shall we discuss it in detail here? Or should we discuss it in detail somewhere? Jia Yan looked at the roads around him. Although there were no people coming and going, there were many strong people around. Just standing on the roadside like this, even if both sides used their brainwave power to hide their eyes, was still a bit too blatant. Of course not here, please come with me. Naturally, the other party would not let Jia Yan stand on the roadside and talk so casually. This would not feel safe, nor would it show respect for a strong person like Jia Yan. So he led the way and asked Jia Yan to follow him and walk forward. Jia Yan followed the two creatures and silently observed his surroundings. This is a not so developed area. If he hadn't used Xing now to check the information that the other party asked him to come to this area on the way here, he wouldn't have believed that this place was the number 3 peace city in this vast area. Region, where the entire disclosure process is located. It would be a bit stingy for such a big group to rent here. Jia Yan felt that the other party's cooperation with him seemed a little unreliable, but this was also an opportunity. Even though he knew that the chance of success was low, he still came. After all, he really lacked some money on hand. Please come in. That building is where our headquarters is. Master Jia Yan must have investigated it before coming here. After walking for a while, the lion creature pointed at a towering building with more than 300 floors and said. Jia Yan took a look at the building. It occupies a good area, and there are people coming and going. Using his brainwave power, he can see that there are countless creatures inside the building. Many of them are also the residences of employees. Presumably the so-called public at the headquarters of the program. The treatment is pretty good. He nodded calmly, and then continued to follow the other person, heading towards the building together. While leading Jia Yan, the two creatures were also observing Jia Yan. How is it? Sir, has his specific strength reached the peak of the intermediate galaxy? It can't be seen, but according to our previous evaluation, he may have concealed a little bit of the energy leaked from the public process, so it is very likely that he is the peak of the mid-level galaxy. If he is just like me, we don't have to go to such great lengths to reach the middle level of the galaxy. The two parties used the power of brain waves to conduct a dialogue. Moreover, the focus of their conversation was whether Jia Yan had reached the middle level peak of the galaxy as they imagined. But in such a short exchange, they had actually concluded that Jia Yan's strength was probably really a peak mid-level star in the galaxy. If he said it, Jia Yan would probably be shocked. It's a pity that they didn't say it, but they were about to say it. Arriving inside the building, Jia Yan gave up watching after a few more glances on the first floor. Because there is nothing special in this building, at least on this floor, just the reception hall and various departments. The other party did not take Jia Yan to stay on the first floor, but led Jia Yan to the 5th floor. Entering a living room with a length and width of more than 100 meters, both parties sat down. Not long after, another female creature brought something like a drink. It tasted good and Jia Yan smelled quite sweet, but it was not as good as the drinks he had drunk in several stores before, at least it didn't contain much energy. Your Excellency Jia Yan, let's make a long story short. We actually know about your recent solicitation of money within our public procedures. Of course, please don't be unhappy, because it is our job to analyze customer behavior, so this is our duty. I'm sorry. The other party got straight to the point from the beginning, which surprised Jia Yan. No need to apologize. Anyway, I use your program to make money. I originally thought that I would bear a certain risk of privacy leakage. You have no problem at all. But I don't like you very much and you still come to interfere in my life. Why am I using your program? Is there any violation? Jia Yan calmly drank the drink in front of him and spoke with the power of his brain waves. He quite likes the way he talks. He doesn't have to speak. He can eat while using the power of his brain waves. People won't think he's impolite because he doesn't have a mouth to talk. Haha, Your Excellency, you did not violate any rules. It was us who asked Your Excellency to come to meet you privately. We were rude. The lion creature quickly clarified his behavior first, and then straightened his expression and continued, but we also see that Mr. Jia Yan seems to be a little short of money recently, and we also need someone here. Only then did I think of you for the help of powerful people from the outside world. Of course, I am different from the forces that invited you. We will not ask you to join us, nor will we let you fight for us. We just ask you to join temporarily. Just take on some less dangerous tasks. The words of the lion creature were very sincere. At least to him, it seemed that his words were not excessive. For the strong men in this North Star, joining a representative of a force is a danger and a responsibility. If any strong man can find such a position, it will definitely be a head-turning grab. It's just that they are them and Jia Yan is Jia Yan. This is the difference between strong men from outside and local strong men. The strong men in the outside world, even if they have the same strength, are definitely many times more arrogant than the strong men in the local area. What's more, Jia Yan is a being from a remote place. He controls the star field of Nyoda, and his hands the number of people under management definitely exceeds the creatures in this peaceful land. Even though he has always known in his heart that he needs to keep a low profile in Biostar, the arrogance engraved in his bones is probably more than others imagine. Oh, you two have been talking about it for so long, do you still want me to work for you? Haha, don't you two know that there are actually quite a few powerful people who came to invite me? Some of them even offered similar conditions to yours, but I still refused. Do you know why? Jia Yan drank up the drink in one gulp. He wouldn't be able to make back the cost of his car even if he drank more. Why? A lion creature, its face is even more ugly. Because, I didn't plan to stay in this peaceful area for long. So I'm sorry. I accept your conditions and the goodwill you have shown me. I hope that in the next limited time, our cooperation will be better. Now that I can be happy, I say goodbye. Jia Yan shook his head and stood up directly. He didn't think that telling the other party that he wanted to leave would have any impact on him. After all, they couldn't tie him up, right? Jia Yan stood up, thinking that the other party would be disappointed or even angry, but things turned out to be the opposite of what he imagined. Okay. Your Excellency Jia Yan, do you actually want to leave this peaceful land? That would be even better. We need talents like you even more. The lion creature laughed loudly. At the same moment, Jia Yan only felt that this creature released some kind of power. This was a sense of power released unintentionally, but it made Jia Yan even a little bit threatening. He couldn't help but be shocked. It turned out that this lion creature, not only a mid-level star in Jia Yan's imagination, but also a peak mid-level star. The strong man who greeted him was a peak mid-level star of the galaxy. This was a great honor to Jia Yan. Jia Yan was about to leave, but paused for a moment, then fell silent, turned around, and looked at this cheerful lion creature. I told you to leave, but you are also happy? Why? Jia Yan was extremely suspicious and asked Chiyuan because he said he was leaving but didn't say where he was going. It was weird that this strong man who had made the process public was still happy. Ha 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 ha, Your Excellency Jia Yan, you don't know something. Our open program group, the main open program, actually needs strong people to promote it. And those who are fighting on the front line are usually strong people. Even most of them are not members of our public program group at all, they are just contracted promoters. Your Excellency, please listen to me carefully and don't leave in a hurry. Next, I will tell you why I am so happy. The lion creature said this to Jia Yan with a smile, and then quickly called the female waiter who had been away for a while and asked her to pour some more drinks. The drink served this time actually has energy, and it is good energy and tastes better. Jia Yan smelled this energy and couldn't help but not want to leave. He turned back and sat down again by accident, wanting to hear what this guy wanted to say. It's like this, Your Excellency Jia Yan, our public procedures have always had a promotion platform, and the promotion people, in addition to the efforts of the strong people within our group and the promotion negotiators, are also inseparable from a group of people. The strong people who have signed contracts with our platform spontaneously help us promote it. And strong people like you who are interested in traveling to various places are the ones our platform likes to sign contracts with. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2217. After Jia Yan heard what the other party said, he was slightly stunned. Emotions, does this guy want to be their promoter? I see. Jia Yan understood. Jia Yan is actually no stranger to this matter. When he was on Earth, those messy software always used this trick. Especially internet companies like Baidu Ali, when they first expanded, they did a lot of things. Such a thing. It's just that Jia Yan hasn't heard anything like this for a long time since he was in the starry sky. Now that he heard this kind of thing on the North Superstar, he was slightly startled. It's not that Jia Yan really doesn't know that there is no such thing in the starry sky, but his previous strength level means that he is destined to have no access to such things. Promotion and other things are all very low-end jobs. But I never expected that someone would come to visit the Northern Superstar, wanting him to join him for some kind of promotion? It's too low-end. Well, what kind of effect do you want by joining? And what are the benefits of my joining? Are there any restrictions on personal restrictions? Jia Yan asked speechlessly. He actually wanted to say that he was unwilling to accept this job, but after thinking about it, he did not completely deny it due to some strange combination of circumstances. This kind of thing sounds very interesting, and there must not be too many constraints. After all, it is just promotion. Sure enough, just as he expected. Your Excellency, we actually know what you are thinking about. We also understand that you have been invited in several cities but are not willing to join those forces, so we will not have too many problems with you. Constraints. In fact, our franchise promotion is just about your promotion, how you want to promote it, and in what form you want to promote it. As long as it does not violate our core interests, we don't care. In the future, the areas you promote will be enjoyed for 10 years. Profit sharing. Do you agree with this? So that's how it is, they are divided into this set. When Jia Yan heard this, he understood clearly. When similar things were done in the past, many companies used profit sharing to restrict many franchisees. However, the final benefit is usually obtained by the franchise company. But, Jia Yan thought about it for a while, and if it was in this way, it seemed that he could really give it a try without any bad effects. Well, let's do it. I'm willing to join and give it a try. You can tell me about the contract and specific operating procedures. Of course, there are also benefits and your support, etc. After Jia Yan said the above, he generally agreed. Although he still doesn't know how much benefit this matter can bring to him, but actually thinking about it, this kind of thing doesn't have much impact, so it's okay to give it a try. He was already thinking about how to make money. The public process can be regarded as the first good amount of money I earned on this Northern Superstar. Now that we continue to cooperate well, it is not a bad thing. Otherwise, wouldn't my trip have been in vain? More than half an hour passed. With Jia Yan a little impatient, the two parties negotiated an agreement, and then Jia Yan was sent away from the building of the public program group company by two creatures. Looking at Jia Yan, who got into the car and flew away, the two creatures looked at each other indifferently for a while, and then shook their heads together. Originally, we wanted to invite him to officially become an employee of our group, but judging from his attitude, he would not join an ordinary group. For such a person, it is better not to restrain him and let him join our promotion team. That's it? It's a pity. I actually feel that his strength is indeed more than just the intermediate galaxy. He is probably a strong man at the top of the intermediate galaxy. It's really a pity that such a strong man can't join. A talent who can control a city. Ah! The lion-like galaxy-level powerhouse sighed very much. Forget it, many strong men are like this, unwilling to be restrained. Especially this Jia Yan, it seems that he is an outsider from an alien planet. Such strong men will not understand that in Biostar. As for the benefits of joining a force, maybe if you want him to change his mind, you have to wait until he stays in Biostar for another 3 to 5 years and has suffered all the hardships. But I'm just afraid that he won't live that long, haha. Before that, it would be a good thing if he could make the program we promote spread in more places. This program can also be regarded as an opportunity for Our Highness to bring some change to this chaotic land. Of course, yeah, it's too far away to talk about that. Jia Yan, who was sitting in the taxi, did not hear the conversation between the two creatures behind him. But even if he heard it, he wouldn't have the slightest idea. Just now, he was sitting in the office and listened to the two of them nagging too much, such as ideals and messy ideas. The more he listened to it, the more it sounded like they are those enterprises on Earth that get people to join and then defraud them of their hard-earned money. It's not a bad thing to help them promote this program. As long as you can connect to most areas of the internet, you can promote this public program. One person promotes it, and then others use this program to disclose their own strength and information. He earns of the money, about 20% has to be turned over to the public process, and I can get half of it, which is 10% of the money, which is not a small amount, but if I promote more people, the money will also be. It's very impressive. Jia Yan feels that this income is a good windfall. It's just that this matter cannot become my main occupation, because no matter from any angle, it cannot become the main occupation of a strong person, nor can it support the training needs of a strong person like me. What's more, even if it can, it supports my cultivation, but from now on I am limited to the group with open procedures. How is this different from joining? In the future, I may slowly be recruited into it and become their thug. You know, judging from what they just said, this group is not peaceful. They need a lot of means and strength to support their attack on the city. Jia Yan looked back and thought about his trip, feeling that he had gained something. Not only did he sign a cooperation agreement, which would give him an extra income in the future, but more importantly, it would give him a slight understanding of the operations of the group company in this northern giant. It is not difficult to create a public viewing program, and it is not difficult to think of similar ideas. If Jia Yan has the heart, he can imitate his own in the future. Even if it doesn't work, he will have a certain reference, and then create a similar enterprise. It may gradually develop and become a real force. Of course, I don't dare to think about building power. If you want to build power, you have to be at least a domain lord. Even if it's just a small business, if you want to open a company without being restricted, you have to have a leader. With the Galaxy class behind me, it may not be able to develop well. So even if I want to do it on my own, I have to wait until I have the strength and know more about the North Star. The only solution now is to find a way to find a future that is more suitable for your own cultivation. Joining the franchise through an open process is just an additional means of income for Jia Yan. Although it may greatly alleviate his recent financial difficulties, as I just thought, it cannot support his cultivation. So if you want to have better cultivation conditions in the future and allow yourself to be steadily promoted to the domain lord level, You have to think about ways to make money that are truly suitable for you, or how to obtain cultivation resources. In the land of peace, after traveling so far, I can roughly understand everything here. The intuitive thing is that peace returns to peace here, and the danger is not that great. But the peaceful environment also represents most of the interests are controlled by the forces and strong men who are already here. If you rashly enter a strong man who is at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, you will either go to war with them head on and withstand the power of the middle level peak of the galaxy, or even the domain lord. The pressure exists, or you have to join one of the forces, with a not so high salary, and the domain master is far away. Jia Yan did not regret it, and chose the peaceful land surrounding Ludi Forest to enter the North Star, because this kind of place was a very necessary buffer for him to understand the environment of the North Star. He is no better than those strong men in the starry sky who live around the North Superstar. Even if they have never entered the North Superstar, as strong men in nearby places, even if they have not entered the North Superstar, they have long been aware of the matter of the North Superstar. He was impressed by what he saw and heard. How could Jia Yan, a strong man who entered after asking around outside, be so ignorant? Entering the North Star near the Ludi Forest shows Jia Yan's caution, and this caution is also very useful, allowing Jia Yan to get through the initial period of confusion and ignorance. But now, after a rough preliminary understanding, he had to prepare to start the formal cultivation progress. As a result, the resource acquisition environment in this peaceful land became less friendly. Fighting with others means that he wants to destroy the peace of this area. The people who come to destroy him may not be 1 or 2 galaxy-level people. They may even provoke the domain lord. Jia Yan thinks that he does not have that yet. Ability. Joining a certain force to become a member of it is safe and secure, but the constraints are too great, and the income will certainly not be too much. It is possible to provide for old age, but it is absolutely impossible for Jia Yan to quickly be promoted to the domain according to his own ideas. Host. As an extremely young mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, he doesn't just want to be promoted to the territory lord. In fact, he has a bigger dream, that is, after the territory lord, he can go further, or even, get a glimpse of the levels above domain lord. So Jia Yan would not be willing to stay in such a place. Let's go, the land of peace is too peaceful for me. I have provoked a lot of strong people and forces here. There are so many cities. It's not that they dare not touch me, it's just because they want to abide by peace. Which allowed me to gather wool in those cities for a while. Although the money was not much, it really offended certain strong people. If I stayed here, I would not have a good memory, so I might as well leave. I just happened to go to some places where public procedures have not yet spread, and help them promote it, so that I can make a lot of money. Jia Yan thought about this and suddenly smiled. As a person who always acts straightforwardly, he always does what he wants to do. This may be one of the reasons why he has become stronger. The night in Heping City number 3 is very similar to the way Jia Yan was living and drinking in the big cities on the earth when he was a human. In this city, there is a lot of nightlife every night, and there are also entertainment places like bars. It is said that there are many tricks inside, and all the people coming in and out are rich and powerful people. Originally, according to Jia Yan's strength and identity, even though he didn't have much money, such a being could easily enjoy top-level happiness here with just a little thought. But today, Jia Yan just stayed in the high-rise building of the hotel he rented, looking at the night view of the super city from high up, and then sighed, sucking in the last bit of energy earned through the public process. Stone. Maybe the city is not suitable for me. I am not born to be a person who enjoys happiness. After absorbing the energy, Jia Yan then used the power of his brainwaves to pull up the curtains, completely blocking out the bustling night scene outside. The top-notch room with good sound and light insulation made him feel as if he was in another space for a moment. Likewise, it is easy to get into the feeling of cultivation. After this last bit of energy has been cultivated, the cosmic power in Kabi Superstar is extremely abundant. I can still practice normally. And what I can observe today is not just the progress of my cultivation. Jia Yan actually has another thing he wants to observe and study today. That is, today the Open Procedure Group has opened up a secret that is not a secret to him, a promoter. Find bookstore. This secret is not a secret to the local people in Biostar, but to Jia Yan, it is extremely important. At that time, after he heard about this, he immediately felt a wave of emotion in his heart, and at that moment, he felt for the first time that he had done nothing wrong by agreeing to join the other party's promotion. Just knowing this secret and having the possibility to listen to it through public procedures to verify whether it is what he thinks is enough to give him great benefits. If it is as I think, then the benefits they have given me in today's business will be huge. Jia Yan smiled slightly, then started the public process, and then let his mind instantly enter into enlightenment. Anyway, Jia Yan has started many public procedures in this hotel. Even though fewer and fewer people pay to see his information every day, the money is still money, right? Besides, he is not disclosing his information for money today. Buzz. The first time he started the public process, Jia Yan let his mind follow the mysterious channel, and realized the connection between the public process and the internet. After that, he suddenly felt a trace of familiar feeling. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2219. Really? Jia Yan was pleasantly surprised when he experienced that unique and somewhat unfamiliar feeling. This is a natural and somewhat unexpected result. Naturally, what surprised Jia Yan so much was something that would have an impact on him as well. In fact, if this thing can be confirmed, Jia Yandu will definitely be ecstatic. However, this feeling now is only familiar, and there is still a long way to go before it is truly confirmed. This familiar feeling is indeed a subspace. He once again explored a built-in network channel in the public program, and then his face showed a hint of joy. In fact, this matter was also one of the clauses that Jia Yan saw keenly when the two staff members negotiated terms with Jia Yan within the public procedure group just now. That is, if he joins the promotion of the program, he can share some public programs with the major branches and headquarters, and serve as a pipeline for conveying user energy, or should be said, it is a very magical space. When Jia Yan used the public process to transmit his energy, he had already vaguely felt that this channel was probably the subspace. It's just that the subspace is difficult to manifest and use inside the North Giant. After that time, Jia Yan has been thinking about the reason why the subspace cannot be used inside the North Giant. Unfortunately, it has always been there was no progress. But this opportunity made him see the possibility of learning from it, so this was one of the reasons that pushed him to agree to the other party's request and become that promoter. Hey, this feels really like a subspace, but it's a little bit different. Even if it's a subspace, it's definitely connected to the subspace in some special way that I don't know. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that even a mid-level peak powerhouse like me, who is gifted in subspace, cannot use subspace, but their program can put subspace contact information into the network. Jia Yan wanted to learn from it precisely because he felt that open procedures could make large-scale use of special subspaces. Now I got what I wanted. Let me think about it again. Anyway, for a promoter, he can test this channel a few more times, and it will not waste too many resources. If it can let me awaken the subspace talent, it will be very useful. Once you get older, it doesn't matter even if there are certain restrictions. Jia Yan has not used his subspace for nearly a month. It has been so long that he has almost forgotten that he has a subspace talent. So if there is an opportunity now to allow him to use the subspace in the North Star, that would be great news. It is a pity that Jia Yan once again opened the energy verification channel and transmitted a trace of energy into the channel. Then the energy was swallowed up, but he did not feel the existence of more subspaces. His channel, the passage, was completely cut off. Don't you want to ignore my channel anymore? Haha, you don't like me occupying their energy channel? That's right, each person's energy can only be transmitted once, and I took advantage of the promoter's convenience and opened it many times. They must be disgusted with it. But since I agreed to be their promoter, I would be angry if a top mid-level star from the galaxy does such a trivial thing without even giving him a small convenience. Jia Yan was not too unhappy, but quickly picked up the communication function of Ji Now and hung up the communication function for the peak mid-level Lion Galaxy powerhouse who was still talking to him just now. Yes, I want to see how this channel works. Let's do this. You give me a maximum number of times per day. How about 100 times? I won't say anything for 100 times, only 50 times. No, 50 times is really boring. I only study it for a few days. How can I use it 100 times every day and occupy your resources? How about just 100 times? After talking and talking, Jia Yan actually got the limit of 100 times from the other party. Anyway, for this public program, turning on the energy verification of the network is very resource-free. Turning it on 100 times for Jia Yan to study will cost nothing at all. It's just that he may not have thought that this agreement will cause a certain guy in the future to occupy the passage 100 times a day for a long time. Although 100 times is nothing, he cannot withstand such consumption every day. Of course, that's a story later. Hey, it can be used again, 100 times. The few times just now should not be counted, so I still have 100 chances today. In the hotel, Jia Yan calmly kept using his subspace talent to connect with the moment when the passage was opened. He seemed to have realized something, but also seemed not to have realized it. It's amazing. I finally understand. Sure enough, the domain lord level powerhouse behind this public procedure is probably a subspace talent. His subspace utilization method is better than mine. And this domain lord must be it also comes from the outside, because even if there is subspace talent within North Star, it is impossible to develop it to this extent, because the subspace within North Star is basically suppressed. That's right, it's suppression, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist anymore. Just like this public program, it takes advantage of a loophole in the suppression within a certain North Star, so that the public program can use this loophole in large quantities without consuming resources. Thus, through subspace, the energy of the strong people is transported to the headquarters or branch of the public program, and then the energy is analyzed there to determine the strength and type of the strong people. Jia Yan has used the channel connection a total of 70 times. It is estimated that the branch in piece number 3 city is very tired of him. During these 70 times, he gradually touched a hint of the doorway. It's not that the subspace is suppressed, but because of the unique environment of the North Star, even the subspace is shunned. He understood that the subspace was not what he imagined. It simply disappeared or was specially suppressed by the makers of the North Superstar. It was because of the pressure from the North Superstar. In addition to suppressing the strong people and energy in the North Superstar, incidentally the subspace was also suppressed. What is this thing called? If the energy of North Star was not suppressed, Jia Yan estimated that his combat effectiveness here would be doubled. But that's right. If the subspace or gravitational wave system had not been suppressed, this northern giant star would not be so closed. Strong people can come and go from the two major systems, and there will be no sense of closure at all. Jia Yan cleared his mind. But to do this, he has used up all the 100 opportunities. When he tried to connect again, the public program branch of Peace Number 3 City had already rejected the connection to his account. Okay, that's it, continue tomorrow. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. I didn't expect it to be quite fast after 100 times. After connecting again and again, Jia Yan's imagination and resolution of the subspace were exhausted before he could make more assumptions. This is so regrettable. Okay, in that case, I can start my next step. Jia Yan began to pack his luggage. The backpack, which was as big as his own height, contained some things that Jia Yan had purchased in the country, such as camping tents, small tools, food for enjoyment, and some household items. After finishing arranging, Jia Yan left the room without any nostalgia at all, and then got on a vehicle leaving the city. Not long after, outside the huge Peace Number 3 City, a figure rose into the sky like flying. He is Jia Yan. The number 3 Heping City is very close to the western border of the Heping region. I will leave the Heping region from here. And it is fate that after passing there, it will be the Princess Ridge that is not the Heping region, which is the former Ludi Forest. The territory owned by the princess of the powerful family who owns it, I don't know if it's fate or not. I'm going to explore her territory. Jia Yan had no intention of staying in the huge city behind him. Coming to Biostar is to take risks and improve your own strength. There are too few opportunities to stay in a peaceful place. When he arrived in Heping City Number 3, Jia Yan also looked through the job opportunities on the internet, but after looking for a long time, there was nothing that would make him live a comfortable life. After all, in a peaceful place, the stronger the strength, the more useless it is. There are not many fighting opportunities, which means that the strong have no place to use. There is not much difference in salary between a mid-level galaxy powerhouse and a top-level mid-level galaxy powerhouse. That's bullshit. With the same resources, Galaxy Intermediate can certainly improve more. If Galaxy Intermediate is at its peak, it doesn't make much sense. So you still have to go to a more volatile place. A huge mosquito creature was flying in the sky, dragging behind him a large metal-like box filled with items. Jia Yan, on the other hand, used his brainwave power and occasionally lurked himself into the tent set up on the box, where he could leisurely use and observe the equipment. This model is something Jia Yan learned from many powerful people. After all, this is the only way to have a sense of ritual. There are quite a lot of enjoyment things that Jia Yan has learned to use. After the body turned into a 3-meter-long creature, Jia Yan also felt that many things that were difficult to obtain in the huge state, as well as feelings that could not be enjoyed, could be enjoyed in this mode. In the past, he was as huge as 30 kilometers, and many things became isolated from him. Living in the starry sky seemed to be living in an unreal world, and he had no sense of integration. But now, even if there are dangers all around, he can't be as unscrupulous as before, but this feeling of integrating into the world, walking around with creatures about the same size as himself, makes him feel like he has integrated into the world. Go mentality. Probably this is one of the reasons why countless strong people are never willing to leave after entering the 4 major superstars such as Biostar. Is this Princess Ridge actually a place that is more dangerous than a peaceful area and is full of bandits and strong men? Jia Yan flew for more than half a month before finally approaching the next area. During this period of time, he has searched for a lot of information about the Gongjuling area. I originally thought that no matter how bad the territory controlled by a princess was, there would still be some kind of benevolent governance. The management might not be good, but it should not be so desperate. However, after actually checking the information, Jia Yan found that this was not the case at all. Look. The so-called princess is probably just like Ludi Forest. She barely cares about her own territory, and the entire territory is completely out of control. As this territory happened to be close to a peaceful area, there were many merchants and wealthy people coming and going, so the strong men in the entire princess territory began to work as robbers. Also known as robbers. Robbery, theft, and killing are not even news there. We are almost there. If you go by the news, the place I am in cannot be said to be a peaceful area or Princess Ridge. You may be intercepted and killed here. Jia Yan silently read the information provided by Ji Now, then closed Ji Now and looked around lightly. Not everywhere in this area has internet access. After all, the huge peaceful land does not have that much money. It is useless to lay network signal towers everywhere, especially in such a borderland. Therefore, the information used by Jia Yan was downloaded as early as where there was a signal. Fortunately, a lot of relevant information was downloaded, and most of the information in Gongjuling was even backed up in his brain. When he took action, you won't become a headless fly. It is said that the farthest place for the open procedure is to. It also develops to the edge city of Gongjuling. In other words, going a little further will be the farthest reach of the open procedure, and if I go further, it belongs to a place that allows me to promote and develop. In that kind of place, it is nothing for me to promote, but the public program group must not be stingy and let me use the channel a few more times, right? For example, 200 times a day. Jia Yan chuckled. In the past few days, he has used up to 100 opportunities every day. Except for the days when there is no internet, he has used thousands of opportunities in total. This has made the public program branches in every city very anxious. After all, small cities the branch channels are not that good. When resources are often occupied by Jia Yan alone, their work cannot be carried out normally. But for Jia Yan, he didn't care about this. Since he made a promise to himself in Peace City number 3, the other party must fulfill his promise, right? What's more, it's just a temporary blockage of their passage. It doesn't mean that they can't do business. It's just that the passage is stuck for a while. It's nothing. Zongshen's Hixgangjuan. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin Yu. Chapter 2220. Thanks to the help of the channel, after half a month of research and conception, Jia Yan gradually gained a deeper understanding of the current situation of subspace in the North Giant. For example now. Buzz. Lying in the tent on the suitcase, Jia Yan tore up the space in front of him in one breath. But as soon as the space appeared, it seemed to encounter some unimaginable terrifying pressure, and the torn hole was directly and fiercely healed. Even in Jia Yan's perception, the space near the space that had just been torn apart was because of the force of pressure caused a large area of destruction. As expected, I was torn apart, so tired. Jia Yan let out a sigh of relief, feeling that his physical strength was rapidly losing a lot, and he couldn't help but feel happy, with a wry smile. The reason for being happy is naturally that he has solved the problem of opening the subspace after so many days of research and decomposition. However, with a wry smile, the space currently opened is not enough for him to use it as before. If he really enters it and enters his true body, he will definitely be overwhelmed by the pressure from the outside world in an instant. Explode. The pressure from the North Star cannot be overshadowed. And under this pressure, Jia Yan doesn't know whether the subspace that opens is a normal subspace. Let's call it a subspace. Its internal disorder is not that severe, because it is all suppressed by the pressure. I couldn't even move. Let's say it is not a subspace, but in fact this is a subspace. It is very likely that as long as anyone can move in this twisted subspace and fly a certain distance, they will be able to fly out of the subspace within the North Star and connect to the outside world of normal subspace. But presumably, unless one is a very powerful domain lord level subspace talent, it would be difficult for anyone to move in this subspace for a long time, right? But the first step is done. In the future, I only need to have a certain understanding, and then continue to study in depth and find the trick. I may still be able to enter it in a short time. That way, whether I am rushing or facing the enemy, I will have an absolute the trump card. After all, my subspace talent is pretty good. Even if there is an average mid-level peak person in the galaxy, even if he is also a subspace talent, he may not be able to match my subspace talent. He can be stronger than my subspace talent. Yes, there are even fewer domain lord level subspace talents. As long as I don't encounter them, entering this subspace is almost equivalent to having a huge means of self-protection. In this crisis-ridden North Star, it's like adding a layer of insurance. Jia Yan was full of gratitude for the open procedure. If the staff of this program hadn't agreed to his conditions, I'm afraid he wouldn't have realized this so quickly. Although there is still a long way to go before I can enter the subspace, even though there is a long way to go, it is a start after all. This good start may not be the beginning of my future. Jia Yan is already imagining that if he researches something and is promoted to the domain lord level in the future, will he be able to use this space talent by then and no longer need to use tornadoes to enter and exit the North Superstar, directly in the subspace? Just go in and out? Of course, domain lord level beings can already freely enter and leave the North Superstar. If you go from the subspace, there will be less movement. It doesn't seem to have many benefits, but there are too many things that can be manipulated. For example, when being chased by a powerful enemy, Bioxing appeared without anyone noticing. No matter how powerful that strong man was, he could even search Bioxing, but he could not be found. Of course, Jia Yan feels that he can't afford to offend powerful people who have the ability to find all over Biostar. Boom. When Jia Yan was thinking about these things, his mind suddenly moved and he withdrew from the research mentality. After that, the overwhelming sound of brainwave power exploded directly in front of his eyes. Attack. At this moment, Jia Yan directly boosted his brainwave power. After coming to Biostar for so long, this was his first time to fight against the enemy, and it was such a hasty battle. But this is in line with his vision of Biostar. Here, it should be a place where strong people are everywhere, and battles can start anytime and anywhere. Who? Jia Yan's brainwave power was able to withstand the force in front of him, and he resisted the entire brainwave power that exploded in front of his eyes with one breath. Ha ha ha, as expected, those who dare to fly in the sky are not weak. Who are they? You and me. The chaotic mountains under the sky responded with a burst of shocking roars. After a while, a snow-white figure suddenly jumped up from the bottom of the sky and the earth. Flying together with this figure, there are the shadows of more than a dozen creatures, and each of them looks not to be trifled with. I am afraid that their strength is above the star level, or even the galaxy level. And these subordinate-like existences are all at the galaxy level, so it may not be that simple to know how strong the leading white figure is. Jia Yan's eyes became solemn for a moment. In this North Star, it is difficult to understand without actually taking action. However, the opponent has already used strength just now, and coupled with the feeling of soaring into the sky, it is still possible to make a preliminary judgment. After coming to Biostar for a while, even though he has never played against anyone, Jia Yan can still slowly distinguish the strength of a strong person. But even so, he is not afraid of the enemy's strength. Just like what I just said, a long-distance collision of brainwave power, as long as you are careful, you can analyze something. Hey, you didn't run away? Well done. The white creature looked a bit like a centaur, with a head like a human and four hooves like a horse. He flew to an altitude of more than 1,000 meters, the same height as Jia Yan, and stared at Jia Yan with strange eyes. Of course, he has nothing to be afraid of. His group has already killed many powerful people. For him, even a powerful mid-level peak being in the galaxy can be safely escaped. And if the other party is a territory lord, the pomp and flying speed will definitely not be like this, so he is sure that the other party is definitely not a territory lord. Although Biostar is a place where the enemy's strength cannot be seen, the local beings living here have long had countless eyesight and can clearly see the strength of those who come. Especially with the existence of a territory lord, which territory lord would be like Jia Yan, who obviously has a fast way to fly, but also deliberately slows down his flying speed. Of course, there must be some domain lord creatures who want to fly slowly, and at the same time, there are robbers who rush forward without eyesight, but isn't this ratio relatively small? If you don't take any risks, you can't become a strong person. At least as far as this white centaur creature could tell, the creature he kidnapped could not be a domain lord. Jia Yan's expression became even more solemn when he heard that this strong man was speaking arrogantly and looked like he was sure of himself. He knew that he was not a local strongman from the North Star. Even though he had been here for 2 or 3 months, he had no experience in fighting with others, and his sense of strength in judging the strong was far inferior to that of the local strongmen. Then this strong man still dares to be so grand after he withstood the power of the explosive brain waves, which shows that the other party can roughly judge his own strength. In this regard, Jia Yan never underestimates others. But even so, he still had confidence in his own strength, and at the same time he did not feel that his life would be in danger. All because he has experienced too many lives and deaths. It may be difficult to tell how strong the enemy is, but whether it threatens his life or not, he is absolutely clear. This creature with a white silhouette had just exploded with brainwave power. At least with this strength, it did not give him the slightest feeling of threatening his life. "My lords, what are you doing?" Jia Yan asked calmly. "Haha, what are you doing? Don't you know what to do when you see this battle? My friend, I'm afraid you are someone who has been living in a peaceful area. After a long period of peace, have you actually forgotten the rules of the outside world? How dare you do it without investigating clearly? Flying to an unfamiliar place, you deserve to be robbed. Now, hand over all your assets, and then we can spare your life, otherwise." The other party did not continue to speak, but the brainwave power continued to be released, which felt very coercive. If Jia Yan was an ordinary galaxy-level being, he would have killed him long ago, but now he felt it and understood that Jia Yan was also a peak mid-galaxy level person, even if the people on his side swarmed him, and he was not sure about killing him, so he said that he only wanted Jia Yan's property. Guys, look at it. I only have so much property. Do you really think it's worth it?" Jia Yan was startled for a moment, then smiled bitterly. He only had a few possessions at the moment, all of which were equipment for a long trip. He felt a little embarrassed that he had been robbed by a galaxy-level powerhouse. The strong man with the white figure used his brainwave power to lightly sweep Jia Yan's equipment, and then his expression became a little strange. Jia Yan's equipment was just a metal backpack. It looked big, but it was clear that he was poor inside. There are no energy stones and nothing valuable. Is this still a galaxy-level powerhouse? If his identity had not allowed him to do so, this strong man would have wanted to give some money to the giant mosquito in front of him. "You came out of the land of peace and behave like this? Get out of here, what the hell, you robbed a pauper." The creature with the white silhouette was so furious that it turned around to say hello, and then asked the subordinates who had just flown up under them to fly into the mountains. He was thinking, no wonder this pauper dared to fly here in Gongjuling, because no one was willing to rob when he was so poor. After all, this insect-like creature that flew out of the land of peace probably has some strength in itself. If we really want to kill him, no matter which team it is, there will be damage, and no team will be willing to rob after wasting their efforts and gaining nothing. You don't even want to put in the effort to rob me? Jia Yan is in the sky, messy in a gust of wind. He felt that these people underestimated him. Should he call them back and tell them that he still had a planet in space and a certain amount of property? Forget it, people don't want to believe it. Besides, no one will ask the territory lord creature to help deliver the North Star for the sake of Edisha. I am afraid that the cost of letting the territory lord creature take action is even more than that on Edisha. Of property. In other words, are you really a pauper? Jia Yan is a little sad. Forget it, it doesn't matter if it doesn't cause any problems, at least it will be good for you if you don't have to fight. Jia Yan could only think this way. Next, he continued his flight. Opening the smart brain and looking at the map displayed above, Jia Yan understood why he was robbed. Because he has flown to Gongjuling, which means he has left the peaceful area. I really didn't expect that just after flying out of a peaceful area, a place without security teams would be robbed immediately. Are other areas really in such chaos? It seems that in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, we can no longer be so ostentatious. During the flight, Jia Yan had a lot of reflections on his encounter with the robbers. Although most robbers will probably shed tears when they see their equipment and supplies, but who knows for sure, they may encounter angry beings who want to take their lives or want to capture them and join the gang to rob them. Where are the bandits? Although Jia Yan came to this area just to mingle with the outside world, he did not want to join the ranks of gangsters for the time being. He had not lowered his status to this extent. Huh? These are. When Jia Yan was thinking like that, he suddenly saw a group of flying cars behind him, flying at very high altitudes. Their height is at least 20,000 meters, so high that Jia Yan has to raise his head to look above. Flying so high, there will be a buffer time before being attacked. Even if a team like the one just wanted to attack these flying cars, it might not be easy. This should be a business flying team. Flying so high, they should also have good armed capabilities. If I follow them, I can probably take advantage of the buffer and use them to resolve most crises. Jia Yan's mosquito eyes lit up, and then he activated his equipment backpack and flew into the sky together, preparing to follow these speeding teams. In order to avoid the other party's misunderstanding, he had already sent out a brainwave power conversation before flying to the same height as the other party. Please don't get me wrong. I am a passerby. I want to follow you for a certain distance. If you are not welcome, please tell me and I will leave. He was straightforward and made his purpose clear in a few sentences. Sir, we have seen the scene of your confrontation with the robber team just now. We choose to believe you, but please don't get too close to our caravan. In the speeding team, there was a response. From the sound of brainwave power, it was probably the peak of the mid-level galaxy. It turns out that this is a caravan traveling from the land of peace, and it is natural that the leader has the strength of the peak of the middle level of the galaxy. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2221. There is a caravan willing to take one with him, which is already a very grateful thing. Of course, it may be that the leader of this caravan also wants to see an extra galaxy-level combat capability in his caravan. Although no one knows the specific strength of Jia Yan, if he dares to act in the outside world, and if he sees a team of robbers and dares to face them calmly without escaping, he must be a galaxy level. As mentioned before, the native creatures in the northern superstar can often roughly judge the strength of a creature through many aspects. In short, no matter what the other party thought, Jia Yan was helped and given a ride by the other party, and he owed this favor. Not long after, a weird box-like thing followed behind the caravan. On top of this box-like thing, there is a 4-meter-long and 4-meter-high tent, with a mosquito-like creature lying inside. He is Jia Yan. From the perspective of local creatures, this approach is extremely poor. The average strong person would not buy a flying car or the like to save time and effort, but Jia Yan doesn't have much money, and he doesn't care about flying cars. Not interested, so I used my brainwave power to push the suitcase forward. In this team of nearly 100 large business flying cars, quite a few businessman-like creatures were sitting inside the flying cars, watching the legendary strong man behind them, feeling very contemptuous. This guy is so poor that he travels in a suitcase. The team of robbers just now also had something wrong with their eyes. Looking at the way he was rushing, you knew he was poor. It was a waste of energy to come to rob him. But he may be a galaxy-level powerhouse, so don't talk nonsense. Galaxy class. This is the first time I have seen such a poor galaxy class. I didn't expect that the galaxy class could be so poor. I don't know how they managed to get away with it. It must be the galaxy level, but it should be the galaxy level with average strength. Anyone with a little strength cannot be like this. Faced with the pointing fingers of these businessmen, Jia Yan didn't care at all what they said. All this is just like him in the starry sky outside. Facing the guidance of a weak person, how can the galaxy-level powerhouses care so much? After all, they are just weak people. If there are two of them who are strong, they have to respond and get angry. I am afraid that they will have no time to practice. Since these weak people cannot affect themselves at all, it is better to turn a blind eye. In the last car of these business fleets, there seemed to be a family of businessmen. And a female creature that looked like a very young fish, when Jia Yan arrived behind them, was pressed against the glass behind the car, looking at Jia Yan. Wow, rake, mom, it's a big insect. Wow, it's scary. This small fish creature had a chubby face and looked at Jia Yan as if he was very surprised. Don't talk about others, this is a strong man. Beside her, another fish-like creature quickly silenced her. Wow, Xiangj is so powerful, so annoying. The small fish creature was only 40 or 50 centimeters in size. It looked surprised and not sure what it was that it was afraid of. Jia Yan looked at the little fish creature that had been looking at him, and a smile appeared in his heart. Who doesn't like cute things? After he smiled slightly, he started transmitting the message. Little brat, who do you think is Big Chong Chong? Hey, Xiang Zhedang Neng said Melon, Mom heard rice. Did Mr. Strong speak? Mom didn't hear you. Don't talk nonsense. Why would Mr. Strong talk to your child? Say Melon, baby can hear it. The little fish was very angry, as if her mother had told her that she was lying. Suddenly her mouth pouted and her two gills bulged. Look, your mother said you were a bad boy. Jia Yan smiled and teased people again. Xiao turned around angrily, looked at Jia Yan, and pouted hard. A baby is better than a bad boy, but a wise man can be a bad boy. With a snap, the big female fish next to her slapped her with its scales. What are you talking about? Hurry up and apologize to the strong man for being so rude. The mother was shocked. Although she also knew that it was probably the strong man from the rear who was sending messages to her daughter to tease her, but her daughter was talking nonsense as a child. If the strong man really got angry, their family might unlucky. Even if they belong to this team, it is not certain whether the powerful adults in the team will be willing to have a dispute with a suspected galaxy-level existence for their sake. They must prevent such a possibility from happening. It's nothing. I just think she is interesting and I want to have some communication with her. I won't be angry. Jia Yan quickly sent a message to this family, fearing that the other party would think that he wanted to bully them. That's it. Thank you for your generosity, sir. Children are not sensible, so don't argue with her. The mother quickly came behind the glass and bowed to Jia Yan. Of course I won't care. Jia Yan moved his feet. Next, amid the tension of the family, Jia Yan communicated with Xiao Bao along the way. The soaring one is so powerful that he can rake the hemp. Why am I afraid of you? Because I'm very powerful. The baby needs to be fed up with the bad things. Can Xiangjia teach the baby how to be good? Okay, but I'll teach you. Can you kiss me twice? A mother's mouth is better. A kiss from the baby. How can that be done? I lost money after just one kiss, so I have to kiss you twice. Woo, woo, mother's mouth, 1, mother, dirty, old, old. Xiao calculated hard, and then he knew that the 2 bites were 1 bite with an extra bite on top, and the fish's eyes lit up. It turns out that 2 people don't have much. Okay, the baby's own mother's mouth, Xiang can teach the baby to be happy. Jia Yan almost laughed out loud. We agreed, we need to kiss twice, come on, I'll teach you. Jia Yan actually had something to say and began to teach this little fish creature. And what he taught was the cultivation method of yin and yang tao. He was a man of his word, and even so, he didn't believe that this small fish creature that didn't necessarily look like a year old could learn anything. But after the words were spoken, Jia Yan's face showed a hint of disbelief. Because this little fish creature slowly got into the situation while being taught by Jia Yan. She began to breathe in the air of Biostar one by one, and then closed her eyes. After that, a wisp of energy based on Jia Yan's words slowly emerged from her body. How could it be so fast? Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, and then he quickly thought about it before speaking to the little fish creature. Try to create the 2 forces I mentioned on both sides of your mouth, one is positive and the other is negative. Try to see if you can do it. The little fish nodded, then puffed up his cheeks. On both sides of the pouty fish mouth were 2 round and cute figures, but the appearance of these figures did not make Jia Yan amused for long, and he soon became solemn. Because he felt that this small fish creature actually had positive energy on both sides of its cheeks, and negative energy on the other side. Although the positive and negative meanings of the 2 energies are not strong, if they are mixed together, they will probably be neutralized immediately without any explosive effect. But the problem is, this little fish creature has just learned his yin and yang dao. What kind of magical talent is this? Are all the creatures in the North Star so talented? Although it has been known for a long time that the creatures in the central star field of the Milky Way, especially the creatures near the black hole starry sky, must be extremely talented, but the young creatures encountered casually on the roadside all have such talents. For Jia Yan it was a huge shock. No, although the creatures in the North Star must be much more talented than ordinary places, it is definitely not a common phenomenon to be able to achieve this kind of talent. In this way, she should be a member of the North Star. There are not too many talented creatures, and they are the kind of genius that suits my yin and yang dao. If I change my cultivation method, I might be buried. At this moment, not only Jia Yan saw the energy of the little creature, but the 2 fish-like creatures beside her also saw her performance. For a moment, this couple was also suddenly surprised. Just like Jia Yan said, every gifted creature has its own suitable cultivation method. Even the cultivation method of the strong man in the universe is as good as the cultivation methods in the Milky Way on this northern giant star where various cultivation methods are multiplied. There are as many stars as gravel. Therefore, if you want your daughter to encounter a more suitable cultivation method, it will be almost like ascending to heaven. They had already taken their newly born daughter to several cultivating forces and tried several times through relationships, but no one thought that their daughter had anything that suited their cultivating methods. But now, a biological powerhouse whom I met by chance on the road casually taught me a few words, and my daughter actually developed a sense of energy inside her body. Although the feeling of this energy is very weird, it is definitely a kind of cultivation method. Within the North Star, what a creature is afraid of is not talent, because generally the creatures that can grow locally in the North Star, even if they are just ordinary mortals, will not lack any talent. What they lack is the cultivation method suitable for them. Faction. Because of this, when they saw that their daughter was actually in line with Jia Yan's cultivation method, they were suddenly shocked, then looked at each other, and then quickly became firm. Sir, did you teach our daughter the exercises? The man in charge of the house also came to the side of the glass and looked at Jia Yan expectantly. Good. Jia Yan's slightly astonished eyes quickly converged, and he looked at the male host with a half-smile. He knows what the other person wants. But to be honest, Jia Yan was quite excited. Although he believes that it is very brainless to accept a disciple before he has established himself in Biostar, but this kind of thing depends on fate. There are not many opportunities for apprentices who are so suitable for Yin-Yang Dao. At least Jia Yan has taught so many disciples, but it seems that none of them are so talented in practicing Yin-Yang Dao. Of course, in the Peace Star territory, another part of the galaxy's central star territory, he once taught a young creature like a white unicorn, and his talent was not bad. But it is definitely not as good as this little fish creature. If you really want to describe it, it is the difference between a star and a gaseous planet. So if there is a chance, he still wants to accept such an apprentice. Of course, this matter depends on other conditions. If accepting such an apprentice requires him to sacrifice something, then he would rather not do it. After all, accepting a disciple is accepting a disciple. Although he also wants a good apprentice, and even an apprentice with good future prospects is a possible help to him, it does not mean that Jia Yan will be willing to give up himself for her immediate interests. Just like the previous situation of accepting apprentices, even after accepting those apprentices, Jia Yan did not find anyone who might be able to catch up with him in terms of achievements in the future. This little fish creature, judging from the situation alone, Jia Yan doesn't think she has a chance in the galaxy, because the galaxy level, or even the star level, has to have some chance in it. Of course, with this kind of talent, this path will be much smoother than other apprentices. For example, others have a 1% chance, but this little fish creature has a half chance as long as it does not die halfway. Achievements in the galaxy. This is already an extremely exaggerated ratio. Seeing Jia Yan's expression, the male fish creature seemed to know Jia Yan's answer. Sir, you have also seen that my daughter has a natural response to your cultivation method. I also asked you to accept her as your disciple. If she becomes a strong person in the future, you will definitely be treated as a parent like us as husband and wife. Well, let this matter go for a while, and I will teach her. If it is suitable, I will take her in. Jia Yan did not directly respond to the matter. He just nodded lightly and continued to look at the ignorant little fish. At this time, her mouth was still bulging, holding 2 mouthfuls of positive and negative power. What is her name? Puff. When Jia Yan asked this question, without waiting for his parents to answer, Xiao became anxious, spitting out the positive and negative forces in his mouth, and shouted loudly. The baby is a fish baby, the baby is tired. Baby fish? Damn it, ruthless, are aliens so casually named? From now on, you will be called Xiao. Yeah, the baby is a small fish, he. She laughed, but she didn't realize that her parents' faces turned dark. Why don't you thank Master? Thank him quickly. The Master asked you to cultivate energy, why did you spit it out? You naughty boy, if you make the Master unhappy in the future, my mother will beat you. The two of them cursed this naughty child of theirs together. At this moment, the little fish was so frightened that he almost cried. Okay, don't talk about her. I'll teach her for a while. Are you going to the city ahead? That's exactly 2 days away. During these 2 days, I'll see how far she can learn, and then decide whether to formalize it. Accept her as a disciple. Jia Yan said calmly. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2222. It is difficult for a master to find an apprentice, but it is even more difficult for an apprentice with no background to find a master. There are too many situations where talents are buried because they don't find the right teacher. So after knowing that the baby fish had talent, her parents begged Jia Yan to take her as a disciple. Fortunately, Jia Yan didn't agree simply. In this case, he also wanted to see if this little fish was worthy of being included in his door. Not everyone can enter Yin Yang Dao casually, especially becoming his own disciple. Didn't you see that he only accepted 6 disciples in the peaceful star territory? Moreover, these 6 disciples are not real disciples, they are all registered disciples. Of course, he meant registering his name, but in this starry sky, no one knew the meaning of registering a disciple, and they all regarded him as a true disciple. In short, Jia Yan agreed to this, but he didn't really treat Xiao like a disciple. This little creature is too small, dozens of centimeters in size, and he doesn't know if it is even 1 year old. He has to observe such a small creature carefully. Even if he has talent, it will take too much time because of his age. Training, for Jia Yan, is not worth the gain, because he definitely does not have that much time and energy to train such a young disciple. Instead, he can accept named disciples, such as teaching her a certain basic, and then letting her go home to practice on her own until the future under appropriate circumstances. Jia Yan visited her again and officially accepted her as a disciple. Grown. In the business convoy ahead, in addition to this large family, there were also many people who saw the scene with great interest. For them, this matter can be regarded as a strange event, maybe it will be on the wine table in the future. After all, the chance of a suitable master and a suitable disciple meeting together is still small, so they didn't bother him. In 2 days, Jia Yan taught Xiao several things about yin and yang, and at the same time he also saw where her talent lies. What a wonderful talent! She is able to simulate many initial feelings of power in her mouth. Even the positive and negative powers of my yin and yang dao are simulated. Although this is not the yin and yang dao that she has cultivated by herself, it can be said in 2 days over time, she has truly gradually mastered the essence of the power of yin and yang. It is only a matter of time before she can cultivate the power of positive and negative forces in the future. After Jia Yan learned about Xiao's talent, he realized that she was not as suitable for yin yang dao as he thought, but he was not disappointed at all. Instead, he was slightly interested in this apprentice's talent. Sure enough, there are all kinds of things in the world, and there are also people with such talents. Your Excellency Jia Yan, we have arrived at the small town ahead, would you like to go down too? Suddenly, a brainwave force interrupted the communication between Jia Yan and Xiao, which made Jia Yan feel a little disinterested. However, he still responded to the brainwave power very understandingly. I will go down too, and if I have the chance, I will stay in the city, and you can go on your own. Okay, it's a pleasure to meet Mr. Jia Yan. The other party responded calmly. In the North Star, there is no idea that if you see a strong person, you must have more connections with him. In this kind of place, even the territory lord is overwhelming. One day, you will meet a territory lord from a distant place. Maybe, it is impossible to interact with all strong people. Instead of acting with a strong person who doesn't know his roots, it is better to find a strong person who has more trust. After all, North Star is different from the outside world. The caravan began to descend, and Jia Yan followed suit. As they descended, the couple and the little fish baby became anxious. Shall we stay in the city with your excellency? But our goods, well, let's see what your excellency thinks of our little fish while we stay in the caravan. If the little fish has no fate with him, we will leave. If there is a fate with him, if the goods are unsaleable, they are unsaleable, it doesn't matter, Xiao's future is more important. The fish creatures in this family are still a bit coercive, especially the male owner. He knows that meeting a worthy master in his life is definitely a great opportunity. If he misses it, he may lose his daughter to a galaxy-level powerhouse. The relationship between master and disciple was destroyed. In the direction where the caravan descended, there was indeed a city, but this city was small, not to mention compared to the Peace City number 3 in the Land of Peace, even compared with the many small towns that Jia Yan saw in the Land of Peace. Quite a few. The population is only a few million at most, but there seems to be a lot of galaxy-level powerhouses among them. There may be a lot of people from surrounding bandits and other forces who settle or trade here. But in this way, the security of the city is a lot worse. From a high altitude, Jia Yan could clearly see the size and population of the city below. After all, it was easy to judge. And when you look at this place, in terms of technology and so on, it is far behind the Land of Peace, as if you have entered two eras. This situation is too possible. Even though the Land of Peace and Princess Ridge are adjacent to each other, in fact, even Jia Yan, a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, has to fly for a month or two before he can fly from Peace to Princess Ridge. Flying from a big city to a distant place here, the distance of tens of thousands of kilometers is enough to cause a generation difference. It was only after seeing this that Jia Yan had a better understanding of the differences in Biostar. At the same time, he was vaguely wondering, could there be no technology at all in some places in Biostar? This is also possible. After all, Biostar does not value technological things and has been pursuing the way of being strong. But there is no point in thinking about this now. Just think of such a possibility, so as not to be shocked for a long time when encountering it in the future. The place where the caravan landed was a large parking lot in the city dedicated to the caravan landing. Buzz buzz. The flying cars landed one after another, and the flying cars of the business caravan were all big, so they looked quite spectacular. Buzz. But after the series of speeding cars, there was actually a box with a tent on it. The scene suddenly became weird and made people laugh. Your Excellency Jia Yan, I finally meet you in person. On the contrary, the leader of the caravan, that is, the leader of the middle-level peak of galaxy, did not look down on Jia Yan or look at him differently at all. However, after the caravan descended, he came to Jia Yan as soon as possible and met with Jia Yan. Yan said hello. After all, the two parties had a slight degree of cooperation and were getting along well. He judged that Jia Yan was probably a mid-level strong man in the galaxy, so out of respect for such a strong man, it was only polite to come over and say hello. Haha, Your Excellency Fa Fei, you are indeed as powerful as I expected. When the other party gives face, Jia Yan naturally wants to give the other party face, so he socializes with the other party as if he is familiar with him, smiling but not smiling. He found that maintaining relationships is very important on B-Ocean. If you don't maintain good social relationships with others, it will be difficult to get along. In outer space, a strong person can be very proud, and even then, it will be relatively easy to live a life. After all, he is at the galaxy level. If you put it in other places in the central star field of the Milky Way, those are strong people who can sit on a planet. In remote places, such as the Orion Arm, it is in existence at the peak of the middle level of the galaxy, easily commanding an entire star field. But here, even a strong man at the top of the middle level of the galaxy cannot be the leader of a force. At most, he can be regarded as the core. Therefore, you can only maintain good relationships with others, otherwise it will easily lead to failure in everything you do. You can only do as the Romans do. Jia Yan gave up his mentality of being a strong man. He is not such an unsociable creature, he just doesn't like to communicate with others. The two parties seemed to be chatting happily for a while, and the other party seemed to be vaguely asking about Jia Yan's strength, but Jia Yan ignored him and the other party didn't ask any questions. After a while, the two parties parted ways amicably. Jia Yan saw the fish merchant family who had been waiting for a while but did not dare to come forward and interrupt the conversation between the two galaxy-level powerhouses. What are you selling? Jia Yan asked. Sir, we live in a maritime area close to the sea in a peaceful land. We have always been selling water specialties from our hometown. You can take a look. The family took out their products very familiarly. It turned out to be some aquatic products, including things to eat, drink and play. Jia Yan had a general idea, and even more clearly, that although they looked like fish, they were actually creatures living in the water. If I had known it earlier, I would have seen from space that hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from Ludi Forest is a small ocean. It turns out that this big family was born from that ocean. There are intelligent creatures in the water, and then these intelligent creatures become strong, or evolve into creatures that can survive on land for a long time. Such things are common in the starry sky, so Jia Yan is not shocked. After a while, Jia Yan had a rough look at what this family was selling, and then Jia Yan continued to ask calmly. Both, I'm still satisfied with Xiao's talent, but she's too young. I'm going to see what level of talent she has in the next few days. I also have my own things to do, so I'll check her talent level, teaching students in accordance with their aptitude. It is impossible to take her with you all the time, so there is a high probability that you will still take Xiao with you. If you have anything in the future, you can contact my brain, do you understand? Okay, as long as we can give Xiao a good future, if you need anything, sir, we are willing to help. The family completely agrees with Jia Yan's words, and being able to obtain the intelligence communication number of a galaxy-level powerhouse is definitely a huge gain for them, which shows that Jia Yan is already tempted. Sex. Baby learn from ancient times. Xiao has been practicing yin-yang Tao all the way. She doesn't understand what the adults say. She only knows that she is very happy and a little interested in learning yin-yang Tao. More importantly, when she learned some tricks of Onmyedo, her parents were happy, her new master was also happy, and she was even happier. After getting off the speed car, she flew aside, holding her throat hard, and then spit out a ball of positive and negative energy, making the air buzz as loud as a fart. Haha, Xiao is very good. You practice for a while, master, and go see the city. Jia Yan comforted her, then handed it to her parents, and went to see the city. Jia Yan has his own affairs, so naturally he cannot stay with such a young apprentice all the time. The talent is good, but it is very difficult to take care of a creature that is too young. Her state of mind alone will take several years to grow up. This is a creature that grows at an ordinary age. If it is a long-lived race, it may even be 10 years old. However old it is, it's still a baby, so it's even harder to wait. So Jia Yan should mainly do his own thing and accept disciples. When fate comes, they are willing to wait. If they can't wait, they can only say goodbye. It's about ancient times, Xiao is good, it's about ancient times. Xiao was quite worried that Jia Yan would not come back, so he gave Jia Yan strong orders. Jia Yan smiled, then said goodbye to the family, took the city's bus system, and headed for the bustling part of the city. First of all, let's take a look at the opportunities to earn energy here. For example, there must be public procedures. I'll see if I can gain anything by publicizing them. He was already quite familiar with this bus system on the bus, so he didn't show any curiosity. He just opened his brain and looked at the internet first. A little slower, but still usable. This shows that the city's network system is not as backward as it appears. Opening the public program, Jia Yan has not exhausted the channel research opportunities today, so he first opened the channel only for promoters to try out the channel feel here. It is very difficult to connect these passages. Waited several seconds before the connection was successful. Sure enough, it is difficult for backward places to connect to the subspace. Looking at the public procedures, fewer resources will be invested in backward cities. Jia Yan made a judgment quickly. At the same time that he opened the promoter's channel, his special authority was quickly detected by the staff of the city's public program branch. What's going on? Why did a promoter account who can open the energy detection channel at will come to our city? Isn't it an investigator from above, checking the passages in our city? It's possible. Why did he turn it on a second time? What is this detection for? Even normal work is blocked by him. It must be a stress tester. Let's get in touch and take a look. Let's check his account level first. That's not right. It's just an ordinary promoter account. Let's ask the higher UPS. In this branch with open procedures, there are not many staff, only a dozen or so. Because they are outside the peaceful land, their work is very difficult to carry out, and it even feels a bit obsolete. Jia Yan, on the other hand, didn't know that he had caused trouble to others and just continued his behavior. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2223. It didn't take long for him to use up his 100 opportunities and understand the public process and the progress of work in the city. To help you out, I'll disclose my information to see if I can collect, make some extra money. Jia Yan smiled, and then made his information public. What he doesn't know is that in the city, the promotion program cannot be carried out normally because there are no strong people who trust this program, and in this unpeaceful place, strong people have disclosed their information. Represents a greater risk, so almost no strong people make it public. And Jia Yan, as the first galaxy-level powerhouse to take advantage of others, immediately brought a different feeling to this public procedure. That promoter opened his information disclosure. He is actually, Galaxy Intermediate. Oh my god, is he a mid-level warrior from the galaxy? No wonder, the peace zone would give him such authority, and he is actually a mid-level galaxy level. Should we get in touch with him? Forget it, such strong men are generally less happy about contact with weak people. The strongest person in our group in the city is just a high-level star. And the strength of the opponent is not on the same level at all. In the branch where the procedure was open, many staff members were originally quite critical of this promoter, but after seeing his strength, they immediately gave up the idea of holding him accountable. However, Jia Yan had no intention of contacting them because it was unnecessary. When he made his strength public, very few people were willing to pay to see his strength. But this was a small matter, and it was only a matter of a while. Not long after, he saw more users looking at his profile, including some who were noted to be galaxy-level experts. Hey, is there actually a strange outsider who came to our city? He also showed his strength in that public process, intermediate galaxy. It should be a strong person from the public process group to support them. Since they have sent a strong man from the middle level of the galaxy, then it is nothing for us to give them a little face and pay some money. A group of galaxy-level beings in the city had this kind of sentiment and looked at Jia Yan's information. For them, they don't care much about such a small price, because local strong people have local ways to make money, and they will not make less than strong people in peaceful areas, and may even make more, so they are not interested in such a small price. A small amount of money can be obtained very easily by reading the information of the powerful. They are trying to give face to this strong man from the open procedure group, but since they, the strong men, have given face, should the weak ones below, such as stellar and semi-stars, be allowed to exist like this? Where is face? I will definitely give it. So not long after Jia Yan made his shrunk information public, he opened the program to check his income. What surprised him was that in this small city where he originally thought he would not gain much, the income is not lower than that of small towns in peaceful areas. I don't know that this less developed city can actually earn the same income as a small town in a peaceful area. This is an unexpected surprise. Jia Yan smiled happily. Although he didn't quite understand the specific reason, since the money was given to him, it didn't matter why, he couldn't escape. With this money, you can buy 1 or 2 high-level energy first to deal with the cultivation in the next few days. Jia Yan couldn't help but go to the energy trading store in the city and buy high-grade energy ore. One thing here is different from others. Others buy energy stones for cultivation. This kind of energy stone is convenient for strong people to practice and guide the power inside. Generally, strong people, no matter what kind of cultivation method they are, it is convenient to be able to absorb the power within it. However, this kind of high-level energy stone, which is convenient for strong people to practice, is extremely expensive. In terms of overall energy, the energy ore Jia Yan bought is not much different from the energy specifically used for cultivation. However, because it is a mineral, it needs to be processed normally and has to bear the loss cost during processing, so the price is compared to real energy stones are about twice the price. Such a price is very wonderful for Jia Yan. And for him, isn't it a very simple matter to absorb the energy in the energy ore? So he used the money he just got to buy 2 high-level energy stones that could last him 4 days of practice. Now look at what the average strong people do to make money, and it's the kind of quick money. After Jia Yan bought the energy stones, he began to investigate what the average strong men in this area relied on to make money. It has been several months on the North Star. For Jia Yan, he probably understands how ordinary strong people live on this planet. Generally speaking, if the average strong person wants to make money, he still needs to find a long-term job or create a power. But for a rootless duckweed like Jia Yan, doing all of these things is a bit unreliable, especially looking for a job. If it is a long-term job, first of all, he is not willing to stay in a fixed place so early. The second thing is that there is really not that much shortage of people for better jobs, and his strength does not have much advantage here. As for creating a force, it's okay to make a small fuss, but if you want to grab a lot of profits, you will definitely be wiped out to the bone. And the way to make money is different in each place, so Jia Yan wants to take a unique look at the ways to make money near the city. This kind of thing is relatively easy to investigate. You can easily get the answer by browsing the local internet. Oh, in addition to being a transit station for trade, are you going to several large mineral areas near this area to carry out mining work? But the strong ones are not the kind of mining I thought. Instead, while controlling the machine, we are fighting against the attacking mountain beasts, as well as being wary of bandits and other forces around us. Jia Yan understood that this was like a guard job, but he was keenly aware of it on the internet. The so-called bandit forces did not seem to be real small-scale bandits, but there were quite a few people. They are gangs from other cities of the Four Lords, and even normal forces. Do even regular towns attack each other? It seems that this so-called Princess Ridge is very consistent with what I imagined. It is quite chaotic. But it is precisely because of this chaos that Jia Yan wants to come. No wonder, those forces in the Land of Peace all want me to join them, and then send them to places like Princess Ridge outside to help them expand their territory. Because in the midst of a war, no matter how strong there are, not enough. Jia Yan understood the original intention of those forces that strongly invited him, and then smiled slightly. Although he rejected the invitation from the forces at that time, the fact that he came to the outside world did not mean that Jia Yan was not willing to use such small means to make some quick money. One is to join other forces, and the other is to accept small tasks. For Jia Yan, one is a constraint, and the other is a part-time job. In comparison, the latter is definitely more free. After Jia Yan completed the search, he turned off the smart brain screen and began to fly directly in the street. Different from the peaceful land, in the chaotic urban area, there is no extremely strong binding force. The strong here can fly freely. Of course, it is not allowed in name, but you only need to show the strength of the strong. If you have enough strength, the police department will not care about you. This was the first time that Jia Yan used his own power to fly over a normal North Star town. Tall houses flashed past his feet, which was still a bit of a novelty for him. Is the mission hall in front? Haha, but it would be more intuitive to understand it as an employment agency. Jia Yan arrived at the so-called mission hall, which is the employment agency, and then landed on the ground under the watchful eyes of all the creatures. Then, a circle of people immediately vacated around him. A being who dares to fly in the city must either have a big background or have strong strength. No matter which one, ordinary creatures dare not provoke. Of course, there is another possibility, that is, this insect-like creature flying on the ground is a fool. Maybe a creature that can fly to the North Star cannot be a fool. So it will only be a strong person with background or strength. It is a very rational operation for them to stay away. Jia Yan didn't show any particular excitement or other expressions, because this feeling was almost normal in the starry sky. He walked into what was called the mission hall. After looking at the surrounding situation for a while, he roughly understood that this was a mercenary union that felt very much like a mercenary union taking on tasks from another world. Those who need to take on tasks must conduct level verification, obtain qualifications, etc. But if you want to hide your strength, there is nothing you can do. After all, if a strong person does not take action, it is impossible for a machine to forcefully investigate a strong person's strength, and no strong person will allow it. I'm going to verify my strength, then register as a task recipient, and then go to the mining area for the task. But it's better to go to a place where there won't be much fighting. Jia Yan looked at the entire process and carried out the operation very clearly. The operation process is actually very fast, because this is not a backward world after all. Even public procedures can collect power from a distance and then verify the strength of a strong person, and Jia Yan is in the mission hall. If you want to verify your strength, it is even easier. If you show the mid-level energy of the galaxy that you want to show to others without any positive or negative power attributes, it will be considered as passing the verification. Your Excellency Jia Yan? Hello, I wonder what kind of mission you are prepared to accept. Not long after, Jia Yan walked to the counter and said that he wanted to accept the task. However, the teller who saw his strength quickly arranged for another star-level expert to receive him and went to an office to contact Jia Yan in person. The mission I want to take, let's put it this way, I'm new to your city, and your corporate forces here probably won't be willing to trust me with the core mission. The mission I want to take will be one with relatively little combat and an average income. But you have to be worthy of my galactic level strength, do you understand? Jia Yan said calmly. A strong person can often easily grasp the core of the problem. For example, Jia Yan, he knows very accurately that as a galaxy intermediate who has just arrived in this area, even if he is worthy of him, I am afraid that others will not be willing to give him strength tasks, because those tasks are generally extremely important, and even related to the core interests of a force. How can it be given to an outside galaxy level, if it is a spy from other forces? What to do? Therefore, he can definitely only accept some tasks with rough edges. Even if he buries a galaxy-level person, I am afraid that the forces issuing the tasks will not have the slightest hesitation or regret. Only by completing relevant tasks again and again, and then being investigated to find out the basics, can you be accepted by those forces and companies. Of course, it is almost impossible to have complete trust. I understand, let's see if any of the tasks I've selected for you are suitable. If so, you'll be able to take up the post right away. Jia Yan looked at the star-level powerhouse in front of him, and calmly clicked on the smart brain screen in front of him, then clicked on some better tasks, and then the disdain in his expression became clearer. I had known for a long time that the other party would not be able to give me a good task, but I never expected that I would guess it right. Your Excellency, take a look, are there any tasks here that you want to do? For a galaxy-level combat power, the major forces still need it very much, but you also know that the tasks that an outsider has just begun to be able to do, this is the only one. He pushed over a virtual screen with several tasks listed on it. Jia Yan looked at it calmly. One characteristic of these missions is that they are all missions with the most battles among several big forces and companies. They are all on the front line. To put it bluntly, they are mercenaries who work hard to fight for others. However, because the levels of the missions are not high, that is to say, they are not very strong enemies, so Jia Yan does not have to worry too much about encountering dangerous situations. Even if the opponent's opposing team has a galaxy class, he will definitely be right. He won't take action easily, or if he joins these queues, I'm afraid he won't be allowed to do it himself. Regardless of whether the galaxy class is a mercenary or not, once he takes action, it will be a big deal, so even if he wants to take action, I am afraid that the forces that invite him will not be willing to let him take action. Generally speaking, the choice of such a mission is the same no matter which one you choose. Of course, if the enemy wants to strike with a thunderous blow, then each of these missions will not be a too safe mission, because the enemy will definitely anticipate that one's own galaxy will level, and then send combat power that is enough to kill the galaxy level. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2224. I'll just choose this one and give it a try. Jia Yan pointed out one of the tasks calmly, and then said to the creature in charge. This, okay, I'll report it for you, sir. If the other party confirms it, you can receive your mission. When the biological supervisor saw Jia Yanling's mission, he was startled for a moment, then nodded calmly. Not long after, Jia Yan left the mission building here. In fact, the reason why the person in charge of biological surprise just now was very simple, that is, Jia Yan assigned him the most low-risk tasks. Relatively speaking, the rate of return is not high. But no matter what his eyes were, Jia Yan had a very good reason for choosing this task. He is not a creature from the northern superstar, and he has not even fought against the powerful creatures here, so isn't it normal to find someone who is similar to him and try his hand first? What's more, the supervisor had chosen all the tasks suitable for a galaxy-level powerhouse. He just chose the least dangerous among them, and there was no shame in doing so. As for him being a peak mid-level star in the galaxy, but taking on tasks that only a beginner in the galaxy can take on, that's not the supervisor's business. He left the mission hall, and there would be no news for a while, because this requires the task publisher to read Jia Yan's information and confirm that he is wanted, but there must be news from the other party. They won't refuse anything. After all, they just want a marginal galaxy-level powerhouse. Even the galaxy level here are not willing to do such work. If someone is willing to take on their mission, it is already a matter of burning incense. Naturally, they don't want to do it. There is something to say about not wanting Jia Yan. Just the waiting process still takes a certain amount of time. Jia Yan did not waste this time. He opened the public program to see how much he had accumulated, and withdrew money again. The public program managers in the city were quite straightforward. Within a few minutes, Jia Yan confirmed with Yan's cash withdrawal, the money is in hand. He directly opened the hotel room and went to the interior of the luxury hotel, which was similar to before, to enjoy the biological treatment that ordinary creatures could enjoy. To be honest, if he were in the starry sky, even if he had a higher status, it would be difficult for him to enjoy similar treatment, so Jia Yan slowly immersed himself in the feeling of an ordinary creature that he had not enjoyed for a long time. This is probably one of the attractive places of North Star. No matter how strong you are, there will be a place where you can enjoy the same treatment as ordinary creatures. Even if you are a domain lord level, you will not be too big. In addition, with the appearance of strength, it's hard to see that the territory lord can pretend to be an ordinary creature for vacation or something. In this way, everyone will find a spiritual haven in the North Star. This will not work in the outer starry sky. Any territory lord who appears in the starry sky will be relatively large. Even if some of them are not so large due to racial issues, their strength can generally be seen by the strong. If you want, it is extremely difficult to enjoy the treatment of any ordinary creature. Comfortable. The washing facilities in this luxury hotel are different. The water you wash with has energy and massages every aspect of your body. How long have you not taken a bath in the starry sky? In this northern star, I have been enjoy this feeling, hee hee. Jia Yan took a comfortable bath, and then walked out of the hotel bathroom and found that there were several messages in his brain. Oh, are you here? Then the security mission of the group company passed. Jia Yan saw the first message that the mission he had accepted had been passed, and asked him to send a message to them so that both parties could confirm the itinerary. Jia Yan ignored it for the time being, but looked at the next smart brain message. This is a public program. Thank you for my hard work in promoting this program. Because of my relationship, there are 2 new Galaxy class members joining today. Did I help them? Forget it, even if I did, then they won't complain about me opening their test channel along the way. Jia Yan finished reading the text message, and then opened the communication of that group. Yes, haha, I am Jia Yan, that's right. Have you seen the news about my public procedure? Sorry, I lived in a peaceful area before and am used to driving this thing. Don't worry, I won't affect myself. Do you want to start work tomorrow? Okay. Jia Yan hung up the communication with the other party, and the process was very simple. The other party had already known about Jia Yan, and had even read Jia Yan's public program information. In this communication, there was no evasion at all. The words came out. Precisely because they had read Jia Yan's public program and knew that he was an intermediate galaxy, or maybe not even an intermediate galaxy, they were extremely happy that such an expert was willing to accept a task that could be accepted by a beginner of galaxy. The whole process went quite smoothly. After putting down the communication, Jia Yan didn't have many other ideas. The content of the mission, as seen in the mission hall before, was a defense mission, and a battle was possible. Of course, this is just a possibility. None of the hostile forces belonging to this group of companies would have the urge to attack them. This is also what the other party said clearly in the communication just now. Putting down the communication, Jia Yan sent another message to Xiao's family. No matter how they responded after seeing it, he first started practicing directly. The energy ore in Jia Yan's arms was slowly partially melted by the condensate that overflowed from his front feet. Then, this condensation absorbed the energy back into Jia Yan's body, and through the blood circulation, it flowed throughout his body, causing the body to experience a greater energy increase. This is the sucking ability that he can possess as an evolved beast. For Jia Yan, his evolved beast's way of swallowing energy has always been stronger than other creatures. Although in the black hole area in the center of the galaxy, he dare not say that he is definitely stronger than all creatures, but even if there are people like him, the ability exists, and it will definitely not be much stronger than Jia Yan. This is where he has maintained his advantage over other creatures from beginning to end. Huh, it's very cool. This kind of energy is really close to the star core level in the outside world, but inside the northern giant, it is an energy substance that can be sold on the roadside. It is not expensive. This is probably the northern giant. Maybe it's another place where superstars are more attractive than the outside world. Jia Yan felt very comfortable and let go of the energy ore beside him. After absorbing it like this, the energy ore was reduced by less than half. If it is an ordinary easy-to-absorb energy stone, it only needs a certain amount of brainwave power to be released next to Jia Yan's body, and it will melt by itself and then be sucked by creatures like Jia Yan. That is a more convenient way. But because Jia Yan is an evolved beast, with the help of the condensate, it is equally easy to swallow, so he can buy energy substances with exactly the same effect at half the price. Why not? If you move to the outer world of the starry sky, you won't find such huge bargains. When it comes to things involving energy and matter, outside businessmen and developers will count every penny. How could Jia Yan be like this? Is there any chance that energy-devouring creatures can exploit any loopholes? Have the Xiao family replied? Let me see. Jia Yan discovered that there was information about the Xiao family in his mind. He opened it and found that it was just as Jia Yan imagined. The Xiao family had decided not to continue the caravan's itinerary in the future, but to stay where they were. Dispose of all the belongings, at least you won't lose money, and then accompany Xiao and follow Jia Yan for a while. Of course, what I mean by following is not that they follow Jia Yan wherever he goes, but just stay by Jia Yan's side, so that Jia Yan can guide Xiao when he is free. Okay, they have also confirmed it. Do I have a little apprentice? Haha, after all, this is at least my 10th apprentice. Of course, this is a more formal apprentice. If Xiao can do it in the future, if she can reach her true level, it is not impossible for me to make her my first formal disciple. Jia Yan has never officially accepted a disciple. Among the many disciples, he defines them as informal disciples. So really speaking, he does not have any direct successor. If he can be in the North Star, if he finds a disciple who is sure to be promoted to the galaxy level, he will not hesitate to accept a true disciple to accept his mantle. In this way, Jia Yan, who was finally busy with some things in Biostar, after a night of practice, absorbed less than half of an energy ore and went out again. This time he went to the employer's group. This is a mineral group, but it is not an energy mineral, but a mechanical metal mineral. All kinds of minerals have various uses. Even if they are not energy minerals, things that are closely related to the life of intelligent creatures will be valuable. After all, although strong creatures are powerful, strength alone cannot be enough. Just like Jia Yan began to slowly enjoy the services of the hotel, enjoyment is also something that the strong need, so the demand for various derived resources increased. Your Excellency Jia Yan, right? Haha, I have admired your name for a long time. We have also taken a look at your public information and feel that you are very suitable for our task. However, I hope that your Excellency Jia Yan will not pay you less because of the relatively small remuneration we paid. I think our mission is not suitable. A galaxy-level creature has been waiting for Jia Yan's arrival in the large factory of the mining group on the edge of the city. It is a matter of eating the king's salary and being loyal to the king. Since you have paid the reward, I will naturally do a good job. I hope you will not doubt my professionalism. Jia Yan said calmly. Haha, this is natural. If we didn't trust you, how could we invite you to be our employee? The other party laughed. In fact, neither party told the truth. Jia Yan was hired by the other party, so he would naturally be able to do things. But if a domain lord creature came among the enemies of this group, Jia Yan would definitely be the first one to escape as far as possible. He is not selling himself to others. If he has the ability to help, he will help, but if he is a domain master creature, he will not die for such a small amount of money. And the other party didn't tell much truth. He said he trusted Jia Yan, but that was just because Jia Yan disclosed his strength, and then used the money of a Galaxy Junior to hire a Galaxy mid-level powerhouse, and even it might be a strong person at the peak of the middle level of the galaxy. They are naturally happy and just say some polite words, anyone can say it. Both sides laughed a few times and exchanged pleasantries, and then the other party had some handover matters with Jia Yan. After a while, Jia Yan got on the group company's flying car and flew to the land outside the city. I just came to report today and joined the company today. Things happened so fast that I can't imagine. In this North Star, even the recruitment of galaxy-level people is so simple. It seems that galaxy-level beings are so common here that they will not have too many doubts and will not have any concerns about galaxy-level creatures. There are a lot of scruples. If in the starry sky outside, there was a galaxy-level person who wanted to join a force for no reason, he would definitely have to investigate a lot, and even if he accepted a galaxy-level being, he would not be given important information quickly. Position, of course, this is also true within the North Star, but relatively speaking, it will be much lighter. Jia Yan looked at the hilly landscape outside the car window and thought calmly. Your Excellency, Jia Yan is so elegant. These scenery remain unchanged. I feel like vomiting just looking at it. Next to Jia Yan is another galaxy-level powerhouse who has taken on this task. And looking at the attitude of the galaxy-level powerhouse in the group towards this creature, it is obvious that this galaxy-level powerhouse is the mission maniac in the small town just now had done almost all high-level tasks in the small town. In other words, he is a full-time galaxy-level mission worker in this small city, and he can be said to be a veteran. The other party was originally a little hostile towards Jia Yan. After all, his peers were enemies, but after learning that Jia Yan was a galaxy intermediate who disclosed his strength in a public program, his attitude changed drastically. Because he was only a junior member of the galaxy, he did not dare to show any hostility towards a strong person like Jia Yan. If he really offended such a strong man and was killed by the opponent with thunderous force while performing a mission in the wild, and then said it was a sneak attack by the enemy, no one would help him get justice. I am an outsider, so of course I am a little curious about these scenery. But Your Excellency King Lei, since you are tired of staying here, why don't you leave the city? You don't have anything to worry about here, right? Jia Yan is also a little curious about this creature. Now that you are tired of waiting, why not leave? It seems that this elementary creature from the galaxy named Thunder King is not a local strong man. If he has nothing to worry about here, it is easy to leave if he wants to. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2225. Ha ha ha, Your Excellency Jia Yan, you may be from the Heping area. You don't know that at least in this huge area, every territory has a dominant force behind it. For example, our area, including the Heping area. This Gongjuling area, as well as more distant areas, are all owned by the controlling family. As a strong person like me, the closer I get to the peaceful area, the freer I will be. But if I go to the outside world, my strength will not count. If you are strong, there is even the slightest hint of illegality, you may be captured by the powerful team that controls the power, and sent to several frontline battlefields, you understand? The Thunder King creature naturally explained why he did not leave this area. Is this so? People who control the power of the powerful will casually capture strong people and send them to the front line. Jia Yan was slightly startled. In fact, what he wanted to ask more was what the frontline rhetoric he heard several times was like. But after asking, no matter how slow this Thunder King creature is, he will understand that he is not a member of the Master's power at all, and there may be a trace of future risks involved, so Jia Yan did not ask. What's more, the news he heard from the starry sky said that there would be a lot of battles in the North Star. Although the manifestations may be different in different places, most of them would involve people, so he had no idea. I didn't think there would be a war or anything like that, or anything too unexpected. Haha, it's not enough to arrest people. The people from our family who control the power are not so domineering, otherwise they would not be able to leave places like the peaceful zone. But if they are not strong, who is willing to join the army on their own? This kind of thing must be a big headache for the people in their family. After the two said a few words, it seemed that their conversation was too deep, and they quickly fell into silence. Talking superficially and talking deeply is actually a problem that many people make when dealing with people. Jia Yan sometimes has a bad sense of propriety, so once he has this tendency, he will decisively end the topic. The other party obviously had similar thoughts. Seeing that Jia Yan was unwilling to speak, he spoke less. These two strong men were riding in the same car, and another group of biological strong men, such as some star-level ones, were riding in other cars. The ride took a day and a half, and the car that Jia Yan and the others were traveling in was extremely fast. At least it was no worse than Jia Yan's speed when flying long distances in the sky, or even a little faster. Only then did Kankan arrive at the end of the field after spending a day and a half. Oh, it turns out to be a mine like this. Jia Yan understood clearly. There was a large area of mines developed into a crater underneath, with all kinds of machinery driving around inside. It was a lively scene. For Jia Yan, who is used to seeing the starry sky and even the entire planet being mined on a large scale, this kind of mine is just a small thing. He just looks at things from the perspective of a 3-meter large creature. All the scenery has been magnified countless times, and there is a slight sense of shock, but it is far from arousing Jia Yan's interest. It's not an energy mine, nor is it a mineral that would make Jia Yan's heart beat. Presumably even if there were such a mineral, the group company wouldn't let a newly arrived outsider take charge. This time, Lord Lei Wang is here to take over again. Haha, we haven't seen each other for 10 years. Unexpectedly, we came across another mission. Who is this? When Jia Yan and the galaxy-level strongman named Thunder King got off the speed car together, another group of creatures immediately approached. One of them, a snake-like strongman who seemed to be quite strong, first attacked the Thunder King. He said hello, and then became a little curious about Jia Yan. Haha, this is Your Excellency, a middle-level member of the galaxy. His name is Jia Yan, and he has just come to our city. Oh, it turns out that it's Mr. Jia Yan, who has been welcomed from afar. It's our honor for Mr. Jia Yan to take over our work. Presumably, those figures from other forces will not dare to come up with the idea of this mine. The galaxy-level being's face changed slightly after hearing the news about Jia Yan, and he immediately became more respectful to Jia Yan. Even though the status of the mid-level beings in the galaxy is far inferior to that of the outside world within the North Star, the strong are the strong. Compared with the primary level creatures in the galaxy, the status of the mid-level powerful beings in the galaxy is obviously higher, and Jia Yan, the mission they accepted was originally only accepted by the junior members of Xing, so they must have been unprepared for Jia Yan's sudden appearance, and it was natural for them to be a little bit embarrassed. You're welcome, we are all colleagues here, but are you ready to go back? Jia Yan waved his feet to these creatures calmly, and then asked curiously. That's right, Your Excellency Jia Yan, we are taking over from you. In the next 2 months, we will rely on you to be stationed here. We will come over next time to take over, but it may also be a new galaxy class. For us at the galaxy level, we can take on this kind of mission at any time, and we can give up at any time. The primary being of the galaxy who was about to leave was very happy to answer Jia Yan's words, because in his opinion, since Jia Yan, a strong man who had just arrived in their city, was willing to accept the mission, presumably he will stay here for a while, and if he is taking on tasks in the future, he might run into each other again, in which case he will have to praise this strong man who is stronger than himself, otherwise when Jia Yan gives him small shoes to wear, the problem can be big or small, and it may even threaten his life. After hearing this, Jia Yan expressed his understanding, and then looked around and left without saying anything more to the former guards who were about to leave. And his attitude made everyone happy not to have anything to do with the strongest person on the scene. In this relatively closed environment, a strong man seems to control the life and death of everyone. There have been more than one example of this before. An absolutely powerful strong man has controlled all living things in a place. Kill them all, and finally put the blame on the enemy. So in a place like this, Jia Yan actually experienced a little bit of the feeling of being in the starry sky and being admired by thousands of people. Not long after, the group of speeding cars that sent Jia Yan and the others took off again. They were filled with the retired strong men who had succeeded Jia Yan. The snake-like creatures who had talked to Jia Yan before also left among them. Master Jia Yan, have you seen this area? Haha, in fact, there are not many dangers in this mine. Maybe we will spend a very boring time in the next 2 months. The primary creature from the Thunder King galaxy rushed to Jia Yan's side and spoke respectfully to Jia Yan. Well, I roughly know it. It will be a bit boring in 2 months. Jia Yan nodded. After looking at the surrounding environment, he knew the result. Because the mine does not have two important minerals, although the output is large, every time something is shipped, it will be transported away, and these are all minerals that make metals, not energy mines worth robbing. In this case, the surrounding bandits or other forces would not be willing to rob such a minecart, so there were not many things they could take away. Of course, it's no wonder that he was the one with the least money among the tasks that Jia Yan was recommended for, but it also showed that he was the easiest task. 2 months is a bit of a waste of time. Jia Yan thought about it and realized that what he gained in 2 months was actually no more than what he had earned by wandering around major cities and then starting the public process. If he had stayed like this during the past 2 months, the rewards he will receive in the future will probably only be enough high-grade energy ores to support his cultivation for half a month. This is the kind of mineral he can absorb instead of buying high-level energy stones for cultivation. If he has been working at the ordinary galaxy level for 2 months and wants to buy high-level energy stones for cultivation, it will only be enough for the peak of the middle galaxy level. It only takes a little more than a week for a strong person to practice. Of course, this is also the reason why all those who accept this mission are zinc beginners, and the positioning is also the reason why zinc beginners accept the mission. Even the middle-level galaxy would not be willing to take it, let alone the peak of the middle-level galaxy like Jia Yan, because it is simply not enough for cultivation. Can we usually go out on patrol? After the first day of familiarity, Jia Yan naturally asked this question. Of course, but there is a clause that restricts garrison personnel like us from patrolling within 200 kilometers of the surrounding area. Otherwise, if there is a problem in the camp, it will be too late to return to defense. King Lei answered Jia Yan's words. In fact, he also knew why Jia Yan asked this, because he himself always experienced such situations. It would be very uncomfortable if he could only rest here in the mine. As for whether there will be any dangers in the outside world, that is generally unlikely. The area within 200 kilometers is usually within the radiation range of their mining group. There must not be too powerful enemies. If it is true, then Jia Yan and the others can take action, because this is already close to the warning range of the mining area. Okay, 200 kilometers. I'll go out for a walk tomorrow. You can stay here in the mine. Okay. In fact, I have taken on this task twice before. The 200 kilometers in these 4 weeks are really so long that I don't want to leave. If Mr. Jia Yan wants to take a walk, you can go, but you have to pay attention to our news. If there is any problem, we will inform you intelligently. King Lei simply asked Jia Yan to leave. After all, there was someone stronger than him in this mine, and he felt very uncomfortable. If Jia Yan was leaving, he would not report anything. After all, patrolling was a necessary journey. Even if Jia Yan had been outside for 2 months, he would not say anything, as long as the person did not go far. After another day, Jia Yan probably fully understood the significance of the garrison mission and the conditions for carrying out the mission, so he left. To put it seriously, the 200-kilometer range is far enough. There are even some border points that are connected to the mines of several other group forces, and there are also several small bandit forces or villages, which is also somewhat complicated. Sex, if you really want to see something, it's still worth it. Of course, in a place like this, a beginner in the galaxy can walk sideways, and generally won't encounter a strong person in the middle of the galaxy. If you are a strong person in the middle level of galaxy, you are almost like a king here, and a strong person like Jia Yan, whose actual combat power is at the peak of the middle level of galaxy, is probably one of the best. Even if the range is expanded to 1,000 kilometers, it will be difficult to find another mid-level peak of the galaxy. After understanding this, Jia Yan was not so solemn when traveling. Buzz buzz. In the sky, an insect figure flapped its wings and moved across the sky. Behind him was a metal backpack-like thing, following the insect creature along the way, as if on a spring outing, without feeling a lot of pressure. There are not many gangsters in this area, because it is not within the scope of trade routes. At most, they are just some little rats from the mines, smuggling some minerals, and then hijacking some mine carts to make a living. They are also considered gangsters, right? There are some. The village makes a living by manufacturing and selling various supplies for the creatures in the mine, and the other part is the agricultural village. The villagers here may not be able to leave this kind of place for the rest of their lives. After looking at part of the area, Jia Yan felt a little sigh in his heart. The North Star is a holy land, and countless powerful creatures in the starry sky flock to it, but no matter where they are, there will always be mortal creatures. Just like in the villages here, those village creatures may never know that in their lives, outside the starry sky, they are envied existences by outsiders. It is even possible that some villagers will be treated as gifted seeds by certain forces if they live in the outer starry sky. But in the North Star, they are ordinary villagers with average talents, and there is no way they can become true talents. The strong one. Ho! Those on top, get down here. When Jia Yan spent a day flying along a straight line to the edge of a road 200 kilometers away from the mine, he suddenly heard an extremely furious roar coming from the wilderness and mountains below him. Howl! Jia Yan was quite surprised that a creature dared to yell at him. At least during this day, he had not been yelled at like this. Although some people were observing him and even looking at him with hostility, there was no one who was not eye-catching and was so disrespectful to Jia Yan. There are often such galaxy-level beings in the mines, flying swaggeringly in the sky to patrol. This is something that the surrounding villagers and local creatures are used to. Seeing such a strong person and daring to provoke them is almost tantamount to seeking death. Jia Yan's eyes turned to the place where the roar came from, and he saw a tiger-like creature in the jungle, standing majestically and proudly on the top of a mountain, looking up at Jia Yan with a scornful look on the world. Oh, it looks pretty good on the outside, but I don't know if it's the beauty on the outside but the downfall on the inside. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2226. What are you? Your Majesty, don't come. The big tiger creature looked at Jia Yan, who was slowly flying down in the sky, and screamed angrily. However, his words were filled with a sense of discomfort with words. Jia Yan looked a little surprised, because he could tell that this guy's speech seemed a little fluent. Could it be that he was a creature that had just opened up a certain amount of intelligence? On this northern giant star, because the energy is so powerful, many creatures will gradually open up their minds as their strength slowly becomes stronger. If such creatures were put on the Earth, their evolution process would be like the ancient legendary monsters on the Earth. What Jia Yan saw was such a creature. He was standing in the mountain forest. He seemed to be not too weak in strength, but he couldn't speak well. This was the only explanation that made sense. On the North Star, this kind of thing is actually not surprising at all. Among the creatures that robbed Jia Yan before, probably more than half were born this way. In ordinary wild villages, almost all villagers are born this way. Of course, there are also many of them were enlightened by their ancestors 2 or 3 generations ago. Ordinary creatures will find ways to move to big cities, but the creatures outside are constantly turning into ordinary creatures, and most forces and countries will enact laws and activate intelligent creatures. They should be treated as intelligent creatures and should not be killed indiscriminately. This is also the reason why in many places no one tries to cut off the evil creatures, because they will violate the law. It's impossible not to protect living things, because all major forces need people. If these creatures growing in the wild are prevented from becoming citizens, then the forces will never last long. So that's it. Is it a creature that has activated its spiritual intelligence? Monster, hee, hello. Jia Yan smiled, looked at the tiger-like creature, and slowly approached. Although he doesn't want to break any laws or anything, he is interested in this matter. Besides, theoretically he is protecting the minerals. If such a creature appears within these 200 kilometers, if he really wants to be serious, he can capture this creature in the mine. Go there and hand him over to people in the city. Someone will take the tiger to teach him. But Jia Yan doesn't want to do that much, he is just curious about this kind of creature. Ho! Don't, come here, ho, know how to eat. The tiger creature seemed to sense Jia Yan's approaching strength and retreated continuously. It is very good for this kind of creature to turn on spiritual intelligence. Many domain lords on the North Star grew up after ordinary creatures turned on spiritual intelligence. Although the total number does not account for a high proportion among territory lords, their combat effectiveness has always been quite high, because these creatures are very wild and their fighting instincts are not weak. I won't go there, but if you occupy this place, I will also have a headache. If a minecart passes by next time, what will you do if you attack the minecart? Jia Yan happily turned on the recording function of his smart brain. An object the size of a button flew to his side and automatically filmed the process. In this way, even if something happens, or even kills this creature, he can use the video to prove it. After all, he is a galaxy level. A being with such strength will have certain privileges no matter where he is placed, even if there is an accident. This creature's killing can be easily resolved as long as he has evidence. Of course, even if he kills him, if he guarantees that no one will see it, even if Jia Yan goes back and doesn't tell anyone, no one will care about it, and maybe no one will even know about it. Minecart, I won't. Minecarts are dangerous. I won't attack. As the tiger spoke, he slowly became fluent, as if he had just become an intelligent creature. I don't care if you attack or not, I will take you away. You know, this is called territory. If you activate your spiritual intelligence, you can't stay near our mineral territory. Do you understand? Jia Yan approached the creature and enveloped it with his brainwave power. The tiger creature was enveloped by the power of brainwaves and was unable to resist. It struggled and roared, but there was no way to resist. He actually has the strength of the venerable level, almost half a star level. This is a creature that has just opened up its spiritual intelligence. If he masters more cultivation methods, wouldn't it be possible for him to reach the galaxy level? He is indeed worthy of being a North Star. Thinking back on how difficult it was for me to reach the venerable level, Jia Yan felt the opponent's strength and was suddenly shocked. At this moment, he more intuitively felt the horror of the biological talent of Beuxing. Although this was definitely the more talented kind among wild animals, he could encounter such creatures casually on the road. To him, it can be considered a moderate blow. After all, his process of cultivating to the venerable level was like a history of blood and tears, but others, on the other hand, had no intelligence and grew up to the venerable level in the mountains and fields of this area. Of course, such a creature is bound to kill in the wild, but it is not as dangerous and grand as Jia Yan's, killing everyone in the starry sky. Ho ho. No, I'm a tiger. The tiger creature roared, seemingly very angry, but could not struggle. Even if he instinctively used his brainwave power, he still could not break free from Jia Yan's control. Jia Yan was not affected by his struggle. As a peak mid-level creature in the galaxy, if he was to be broken free by a venerable level creature, Jia Yan could just find a piece of tofu and hit him to death. And when Jia Yan silently grasped the creature and was about to take it back to the mine with a smile, his expression changed slightly. Because he felt that there was a new outsider within the range of his brainwave power. "Hey, that man, I've taken a fancy to this tiger, put him down, I want to ride him." An anthropomorphic creature that looked like a legendary demon had a pair of black wings. The wings were quite slender, and they flapped extremely calmly. Once they flapped, she was suspended in the sky out of thin air. And she is not big, about the height of an ordinary earthling child. She also looks like a cute little girl with sharp little canine teeth. She is basically the appearance of a little devil in Jia Yan's impression. However, this little devil-like creature was quite arrogant. After seeing what Jia Yan was doing here, it flew over with all its strength and shouted, asking Jia Yan to put down the tiger creature. Huh? A creature like a child, it's strange why her family isn't around. When Jia Yan saw this little devil, he stopped what he was doing and watched with interest as she flew towards him. This little demonic creature, which is only 1.23 meters long, is also a tiny person in front of Jia Yan, who is more than 3 meters long. Jia Yan believes that she is probably the kind of person who will not grow bigger even if she goes to outer space. Race, the gap will be even greater. Let him go. The little devil puffed out his non-existent chest, pointed at Jia Yan and shouted. The voice is milky and quite cute. "Kid, I can't let go of my responsibility." Jia Yan looked at the little guy, smiled and shook his head. Unexpectedly, these words made the other party jump. "No, let it go quickly, I want to ride him." The little devil was so angry that he stepped up and down in the air with his little feet. "Kid, if I let him go, he will run away. You may not be able to catch him." Jia Yan shook his head helplessly and continued to speak tirelessly. "You can catch it, I can catch it, you let it go." The little devil continued to dance. Jia Yan was speechless, and then his heart moved slightly, and he removed the brainwave power. Encountering such a child in such a wilderness, he also knew that there was something fishy about the matter. Either this little kid must have a certain strength, or there was a big background behind her, and no matter which one, it shows that she is extraordinary. So Jia Yan did as she wanted and simply removed the brainwave power to see what she could do. Roar. As soon as the tiger creature felt that its body was free again, it roared fiercely and did not dare to attack Jia Yan, because he also knew that it was seeking death. Instead, it randomly chose a direction and ran away directly. He couldn't fly yet, but as soon as he landed on the ground, he rushed away with a long stride. With such speed in the North Star, it was also very troublesome. "How dare you run if I want to ride on you? Stop right there." The little devil-like creature waved its small arms. Then Jia Yan saw that a golden hoop-like circle on her wrist expanded section by section and turned into a large circle. It flew to the tiger creature's neck in an instant, and then suddenly shrank, wrapping its neck with the hoop. Die. Ouch. The tiger creature rolled his eyes, and then he felt a large amount of electricity hitting his neck. His whole body directly lost strength and slowly fell to the ground. Sharp. Jia Yan looked at the scene and felt a little surprised. This is just a simple technological thing, but it can actually cause a venerable level creature to be captured. Jia Yan can't see how strong the little devil creature is. But no matter how strong she is, or she has no strength at all, having such a technological creation shows that her background cannot be underestimated. Did you see that? I caught him, now I'm going to ride you and leave you alone, right? The little devil was in high spirits, and then rolled his eyes at Jia Yan, as if he was showing off. I don't care. Your Excellency, you can ride him. But after riding him, I have to take him back to the outside world. You know, such a creature must be disciplined. Jia Yan looked businesslike. But he didn't care what happened to the tiger creature. It was none of his business to let it go. He was just taking the opportunity to observe the demonic creature. Ha ha ha, hello hoo hoo, I'll ride you. The little devil laughed happily, jumped on the tiger's back, and told him to get up and run. Ouch! The tiger creature was so angry that it turned around and wanted to bite the little devil. Unexpectedly, the little devil didn't even look at him. The metal object on the tiger creature's neck released a large amount of electricity. The majestic venerable creature fell to the ground again. Hurry up, I want to ride you. Run, if you are not as fast as my horse, I will kill you. Little devil, don't look at her like this, she's quite mean. The tiger creature is just wild, but it does not mean that after it is successfully evolved, it will still be as unruly as a wild animal. After being attacked twice by electricity, it immediately knew that the opponent was not easy to mess with, and stood up staggeringly from the ground. Roar! He roared, then jumped forward and ran away. His speed was just like the feline's Jia Yan knew. He was so flexible that he could even reach hundreds of kilometers per hour just by running on the ground. Come on, it can be said that it is so fast. The process was like walking on flat ground, trying not to let the little devil creature fall, which was also difficult for him. However, this kind of action also made the little devil creatures enjoy a supreme riding experience and made them happy. Wow, ha ha ha, it's so fun, so fast. She screamed all the way, smiling like flowers blooming. After a while, the little devil stopped. Hey, this tiger came back with me. No one wants him, I want him. The little devil turned around and shouted at Jia Yan, his tone completely in the form of a command. Can. Jia Yan didn't even mean to refuse and nodded directly. Hearing that Jia Yan was so talkative, the little devil was not used to it. He was stunned for a moment, and then said angrily, I took him away, you can't finish your work, don't be angry. Don't be angry. I'm just the protector of the mine over there. As long as someone takes him away, the rest is none of my business. You're so boring. The little devil probably wanted to make Jia Yan angry and cause trouble, but seeing that Jia Yan wasn't fooled, she didn't know how to respond. If you want to take him away, please take him away. Jia Yan looked at the little devil with a half smile but no intention of stopping him at all. The little devil's eyes rolled around, but he didn't leave in a hurry and asked the tiger creature to sit down. If I don't leave, what can you do to me? She said extremely arrogantly. You don't want to leave? If you don't leave, I will. Jia Yan's group means to see everything through, so smiled slightly. Then he lifted into the air and was about to fly away. No. You can't leave, I won't let you go. Suddenly, the little demonic creature jumped again. She yelled, you stay and play with me, I want to fly on you, and on the box behind you, I want to fly in the box. If you dare to leave, I will kill you. She yelled at the top of her lungs, looking arrogant and willful. Hey, as expected. Jia Yan, who was ascending in flight, smiled softly in his heart. At this moment, deep in his heart, he thought of a possibility. This possibility is a bit fanciful, but the fact is before us, and if it is not that possibility, there is no other way to explain the character and performance of this little devil creature. In other words, even if it is not that possibility, the little devil is definitely not an ordinary creature. After listening to the cry of the little demonic creature, he suddenly stopped rising, feeling helpless. Sir, tell me what you want. I have something to do. If you stop me, I won't be able to work. Merry Christmas. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website.